The 01 car.
Yeah, they're in the wrong order, as it were. So
actually, they're probably not in the wrong order.
Depends
actually,
whether you're walking from the back of the pits to the front of the pits.
Yeah, but as they're coming in, if the 02 car is leading,
no, from that point of view,
then they could come in at the same time and really not hinder each other. But it certainly does give them a little bit more space for the crew guys to move around the cars. Because they're not huge pits here at Daytona with 53 cars on the track.
That's now
at least how we started.
That's now 17 pit stops altogether for the number 02, which is not quite the highest number that we've had, but certainly amongst the highest. And of course, it did have that problem with the front splitter earlier on in the race when it was actually taken behind the wall and worked on in the garage. Managed to get itself back on the lead lap. At one point it was off the lead lap by 2 laps, and then got itself back onto the lead lap. And having got itself back on the lead lap, Kyle Larson doing a great job of lapping more quickly than the number 01 was.
The 02's got an issue, I think, because all of a sudden it was looking very smoky into turn 2.
Big lock-up.
That's from Jordan Taylor, who's got in front of Kyle Larson, but Larson's car...
Moving that car around, going onto the banking, isn't he, Johnny? It's really moving that car.
There's a lack of pace there from the Chip Ganassi Riley, and all of a sudden... That is the 02, isn't it, rather than 01?
Yes, it is.
Okay, 02 that's just had a pit stop, looking rather tardy. Well, certainly into turn 2, and all of a sudden Jordan Taylor has taken the race lead then on the track. Charging down to the bus stop comes Kyle Larson.
I just wonder whether we've had driver changes in that car.
Well, you know, I wonder whether a wheel has come loose on that car, because just the way the car is moving around, he's really having to work at the steering. And I fancy there's some sort of maybe a wheel didn't go on correctly, it didn't seat properly.
Perhaps,
He's
something
staying
like
out.
That.
He's staying out.
Really?
I think he was just warming the tyres, and I think there might even be a change of driver. No, we're not given the change of driver.
No, there was no change of driver.
Okay, but it was a much slower outlap from Kyle than from Jordan. You're absolutely right. And clearly, if there was a problem, he would have taken the opportunity to pit again at the first opportunity.
That's one to watch. Meanwhile, René Rast still can't get past Jeroen Blekemolen. So it's still the 33 car that heads GTD, 48 though in hot pursuit.
Beg your pardon, Johnny. The thing about that, of course, is that Jordan Taylor, he'd made his pit stop on the previous lap, so his tyres were fully up to temperature, whereas Kyle had just come out of the pits, hadn't he?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
So... Oh, the rear wheels spinning on the number 1 car on the pit lane there.
It's just come in from 3rd position.
That's not good.
So the car up on its jacks and the throttle not shut off for some reason.
Yeah, something bizarre going on there. So that's a 3rd place car.
If they plan to change tyres, that will be rather tricky.
Don't let it off the jacks either.
True enough, yes, as perhaps a driver change is taking place, or they're just changing the water bottle. We'll keep an eye on that stop as well. Meanwhile, I think Joe Brady has news from the pit lane. What can you tell us, Joe, regarding possibly the number 02?
Well, I've got nothing to tell you, which I suppose is telling you what you needed to hear. There is no kind of sense of urgency down here or consternation. Good. So from inside the Ganassi pit, there doesn't seem to be as much concern as you guys maybe are showing.
The 02 car looked a little bit smoky heading into turn 2, the international hairpin, the horseshoe I should say, on the outlap. Now that might have just been routine stuff, because you know there's new tyres on the car and 1 or 2 things just bedding in after the stop.
Yeah, and plus it was on his outlap, and I think I just got a bit carried away there. Probably because the reason the car was moving around a lot is because he was trying to build some heat into the tyres. So that could have been me misconstruing that. Plus the fact, of course, that Jordan Taylor had been in the lap before, so his tyres were fully up to temperature. And I'm just, I know Paul Trustwell is trying to pour through the data and see if he can figure out exactly how long each of their respective pit stops were, because if Jordan Taylor's pit stop was significantly faster, then that would explain why all of a sudden a 4-second deficit for Jordan Taylor has turned into a 4-second advantage. And if Jordan didn't maybe change tyres on that pit stop, maybe his tyres were still warm when he went out of the pits, so that would help enable him to get up to speed more quickly, than with Kyle Larson, who I'm pretty sure did change tyres on that stint. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty chilly out there this evening, so it's certainly going to take longer than usual to build heat into these tyres, fresh air tyres, because of course no tyre warmers in the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship.
We've not talked about GTLM for a little while. Well, that's starting to spice up again nicely. This is Mark Lieb trying to close in on Simon Pagenaud. Well, he's just about closed in on him, but he needs to find an opportunity to get by. Ryan Briscoe leads the class, by the way, 9th position overall, and Briscoe has a fairly decent lead on Wolf Hensler. I say decent, it's 3.5 seconds, so could change at any moment. Simon Pagenaud and Mark Lieb, though, much closer, just 0.2 of a second between those cars. They feed out of the bus stop now and have a Viper to lap. That's not Jeroen Bleekemolen, because Bleekemolen is just 0.8 of a second ahead of René Rast, so that must be the 93 of Al Carter. And Pagenaud right in the wheel tracks here, trying to get the toe coming out of turn 4 of the speedway and towards the tri-oval. He's got Mark Lieb ready to pounce.
He could barely keep up with him, actually. That Viper is incredibly fast on the straight. It really does punch a hole through the air. But under braking, of course, the GTLM cars, much more sophisticated, they will make the move past quite straightforwardly on the outside line. But there's next to nothing now between those two cars, number 4 and number 911, at the battle for third place in the class, because Wolf Hensler in car number 17, the Falcon Tires Porsche, has moved his way past both of them and into 2nd place in the class. I think, yeah, I'm looking at the pit stop sequence for those cars. They'll probably be in relatively soon now, but it's been a great recent part of this stint for Wolf Hensler, and Ryan Briscoe also has managed to put some daylight between himself and his teammate.
Yeah, it should be another 3 laps at most for the GTLMs, who will all come in pretty much at the same time, Jeremy. And thank you for sticking with me. I've got the answers on the pit stop times for the Wayne Taylor racing car. Jordan Taylor staying behind the wheel, 1 minute 13.1 seconds in pit lane, 1 minute 13.1, whereas the Chip Ganassi car, 1 minute 17.6 seconds. So, you know, a whole 4.5 seconds worth of difference just in the pit lane. Right, and
there's another. We need to find another 3 seconds or so somewhere, and I fancy that would be
on the outlap.
Yeah, on the outlap, and particularly if Jordan did not change tyres and the Ganassi car did, that explains that just about perfectly.
Finally got the change in GTD. René Rast has managed to get by Jeroen Bleekemolen, only led by 0.5 second, but nevertheless the number 48 Audi is now ahead and takes the race lead for GTD. So that's an 8.5 second disadvantage to all of a sudden 0.5 second of an advantage, and I expect René Rast to start to build that lead now on the Viper number 33.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jeroen Bleekemolen, his lap times have been sort of high 49s or low 50s for most of the time, whereas his best lap in that car earlier in the race was a 147.4, so a good 2 seconds or so off that car's ultimate pace, whereas pretty much everybody else is within a second or so of the times that, you know, the best time set in that car. That's surprising to me. I wonder whether the number 33 Viper maybe didn't, you know, is running a longer stint on these tyres, and maybe their tyres are getting towards the end of their useful life. That might explain why that car is going relatively not as fast as it was earlier on. A couple more pit visitors there. The third place PC car, car number 16, that's one of the Bar 1 Motorsports entries. Tommy Dreesy bringing that car. It's quite a long way behind, about 10 laps now behind the PC class leader. That's the number 54 Core Autosport entry with the team owner John Bennett at the wheel. In second place in PC, Tom Kimber-Smith for PR1 Matheson Motorsports car number 52. That is 2 laps behind. And then a pretty big gap back to Tommy Dreesy in number 16 car. Fourth place in PC is car number 85 with Chris Miller. And Chris Miller will actually now leapfrog ahead of Tommy Dreesy, because those two cars are on the same lap. They both completed 310.
Your own Blake Mullen's listening to you, Jeremy, because all of a sudden he's upped his pace and he's gone back down to the a more respectable time of 1:48.5.
Yeah.
Very close indeed to René Rast they were on the infield section. It's opened up very slightly on the back straight, but into the bus stop again, the Viper right with the Audi.
And it seemed to me the last 4 or 5 times I looked at it on different laps, Blake Mullen's lap times were all in the sort of very low 50s. That's curious.
Needed to be wary.
There goes the Vulcan tyre Porsche.
Yes, Wolf Hensler.
Oh, everybody's in, aren't they?
This is the GT pit stop phase, and as you rightly say, Jeremy, everybody is in. Certainly pit stops for Wolf Hensler, for Simon Pagenaud, for Earl Bamber, Bruno Spengler, Giancarlo Fisichella, and the two that have not come in, Ryan Briscoe hasn't come in the Corvette, and nor has Mark Lieb with his Porsche.
So we can expect them in, I think, probably next time by.
Yeah, so interestingly, they all came in on the same lap on the previous cycle through. So a little bit of extra fuel performance, fuel economy from the Corvette number 3, possibly. Ryan Briscoe's Lightfoot.
And on the outlap, the 17 car's just been overtaken by Simon Pagenaud. So Pagenaud getting the hammer down far earlier than the Falcon Tyres Porsche. Pagenaud up to 3rd. It's Patrick Long, in fact, now on board the 17. So a driver change for 17. They stuck with Simon Pagenaud in the 4 Corvette, and Mark Lieb's taken the class lead because Ryan Briscoe now comes down pit road and stops at the Chevy Corvette pit box. Meanwhile, 3 abreast there between some of the GT cars out onto the super speedway.
Patrick Long's just been passed by number 912 car as well.
Earl Bamber through.
Yeah, he's not up to speed yet, Patrick Long. Going around the banking there, there's one of the GTD Ferraris goes whistling past him.
So again, I'm kind of in two minds as to whether this is a concern or whether it's a similar scenario that we saw for the 02 Riley, in that it just took a little bit of time to get up to full racing pace.
He came out of the pits at the same time as Simon Pagenaud, didn't he? Because they were in together.
Correct. Yes.
Along with Earl Bamber.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is weird.
And Patrick Long being caught now by the 73 GTD Porsche, and that Porsche not really sure where to go because it's being lapped by a Mazda as well, and way below the apron there goes the number 60 car of AJ Allmendinger, not wasting any time at all. You could tell it was AJ on board.
Yeah, yeah. AJ wants to get that lap back. He's up into 4th place now, and he's a fair way behind. He's got quite a lot of ground to make up if he's got any chance of getting that back onto the lead lap. It is still Jordan Taylor who leads, 332 laps completed by our race leader. Number 10, Wayne Taylor racing Konica Minolta Dallara Corvette DP. Kyle Larson in 2nd place, 4.5 seconds or so behind. It's been that since the round of pit stops. In 3rd place, Scott Pruitt, who is the better part of a lap down.
Mark Lieb in from the lead of GTLM.
Yes, he was the last one to stay out. I was about to say he's still out, but then he came in. And just comparing pit out times, Patrick Long's pit out time was half a second before the pit out time of Simon Pagenaud, and was 4 seconds before Earl Bamber coming out. So they all came out together, as you rightly observed, Germany, but Patrick Long was the first of them, and then Ryan Briscoe, who was out on the next lap.
And now he's the last of them.
So, yes, it was just a slow outlap from Patrick Long. 2 minutes 19 was his outlap, as compared to 2 minutes 10 from Earl Bamber and 2 minutes 8 from Simon Pagenaud. So 10 seconds lost by Patrick Long, which is a long time to get yourself dialed in, but better safe than sorry.
Yep, so 4.5 seconds between those two leaders, and Scott Pruitt in 3rd place, another 40 seconds behind in 3rd place, and AJ Allmendinger, the first of the cars, a lap down in 4th place in car number 60. And the leaders went through here a little while ago. They're probably going around the International Horseshoe, I would imagine, around about now. So I'm watching out for... Who was that went through? AJ, I think. So
AJ having done 332 laps, and that's one of the Chip Ganassi cars heading into the International Horseshoe now, the one with the blue front, which is the 01, Scott Pruitt. And the gap between first and second place cars, Jordan Taylor and Kyle Larson, 4.7 seconds, and then you got about 45 seconds back to Scott Pruitt in the 01. Allmendinger, as we said, is a lap down, but eager to try and get that back. And then Richard Westbrook on board the 90 car. What sort of times is he doing? 1:42.4, which is equal, if not slightly better than AJ Allmendinger. But there are three quarters of a minute between AJ and Richard Westbrook. Meanwhile, in PC, not mentioned that class for a little while. No, I'm looking on the wrong line, beg your pardon. John Bennett has a decent lead in car 54, still on Tom Kimber-Smith in the 52 machine. And that has been fairly consistently about 2 laps between those 2 leading prototype challenge cars. 54 from 52, that's been the way of things for quite a while. 85 is in 3rd position in PC, which is Chris Miller, and Tommy Dreesy completing the top 4 in 27th overall in the number 16 PC car, which is the BAR1 Motorsports Orica.
Yeah, having made a pit stop just a couple of laps ago. I'm intrigued by this GTLM battle. Wait a minute.
That can be a quote you can use at any point in the race, you know.
What happened there? Mark Lieb just had a slow lap.
He did, a very slow lap. No, that wasn't.
Or was it an out lap? Was that his out lap?
That's his out lap.
Okay, fine.
He only came in on lap 325, and that 2:11 is his. Yes, his out lap.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so we've got Briscoe leading now in car number 3 for Corvette. Second place then is number 4 Corvette, and right behind Simon Pagenaud is Mark Lieb in that number 911 Porsche. And then about 4 seconds behind him is Earl Bamber in the second of the Porsches, and then another almost 10 seconds back to Patrick Long, who is still not back up to speed. 1:49 last time around. That's 2.5 seconds slower than the class leaders, and they all came out of the pits at the same time. That is rather odd.
Yes, Patrick obviously doesn't feel comfortable with something about that car, I would suggest. Yeah. But it may be that the Porsche just takes a bit of time to get its tyres warmed up, or maybe they did a setup change that didn't really work, and Patrick's now having to learn to drive around it. Yeah,
Patrick Long, of course, he doesn't have a lot of experience on his Falcon tyres. He spent pretty much all his career in Porsches. Well, number 1, he spent most of his career at Porsches, and number 2, most of the time of Porsches on Michelin tyres. So I'm sure there are different characteristics to the Falcons that maybe he's got to still getting used to.
Jeroen Bleekemolen pits from the lead of GTD. Already had a pit stop for René Rast, because the 2 minutes 12.6 that he did last time around will have been an out lap. I hope it was anyway.
Yep.
So 48 has slipped to 5th position. Jeroen Bleekemolen, who therefore inherited the lead, has just come in. Marcos Gomez then therefore should be out front now in the 64 car, which is the multicoloured Scuderia Corsa Ferrari with its green, yellow and red
the
livery.
Rainbow car.
That's right.
There is number 33 Viper. We're watching make its pit stop.
Did they drop it off the jacks whilst the wheel was still going on there? Or maybe they were just checking disc temperatures or something.
Yeah.
But,
I think they're saying it's okay. They're just checking the temperatures there on the disc. You're absolutely right. Temperature sensor there.
A new fastest lap of the race. Again, no prizes for guessing. Kyle Larson, the perpetrator, a 1:39.932, takes another 0.04 of a second off his previous best. And again, even with traffic, I mean, that wasn't in the gap that was created artificially by a safety car being out. Obviously, Kyle proving that those Riley Ford EcoBoosts, very rapid machines indeed.
Actually, Oz Negri actually set. Does Oz Negri have the fastest lap of the race at the moment? Yes, he does. A 39.894 according to.
Yes.
Yes, that's curious.
Yeah, no, I'll go along with that.
Yeah. He said that about.
I said that was the problem is that
that's odd. I was Negri on lap 293. I'd have thought John Pugh was driving the car then. Oh, no, there's something weird going on there.
Did AJ take over from John Pugh then?
Yes.
Okay.
At the last stop, yeah.
At the last stop, and John probably just did a single stint, perhaps.
But nevertheless, that would be right about the time that they would have been doing 293, I would imagine. Anyway, 139.8 is the best time on our timing screen for car 60. And then next best time, the 02 with a 139.932. This is really close stuff, though. And then a 139.938 has been the third fastest lap of the race so far, set by car number 10.
Yeah, just a handful of laps ago.
On 3:29, and we've just completed lap 3:37. Jordan Taylor goes through now, just with 1.8 seconds between him and the 02 car of Kyle Larson. Had a little message in my ears from Joe Bradley from the pit lane a moment or two ago. Joe, did you have news that you can bring us? This might be a false call.
No, Johnny, I was just, I think you guys
things. I mean, it's a time of night to be hearing things, frankly.
You were speculating on something, and I was just confirming it for you. And you know what? I've totally forgot what it was.
It's good to hear your voice and to make sure that you're still awake. Joe Bradley down in the pit lane, and do chip in with anything else you might have. Meanwhile, Jordan Taylor leads, as I say, by 1.8 seconds, Paul.
Yeah, just chipping in with the latest, currently showing 7 degrees Celsius outside, and I'm afraid my maths isn't good enough to work out what that is. But if we run one of these little programs here, it'll soon tell me that's 45 degrees Fahrenheit outside at the moment. So Joe, no doubt, nicely wrapped up, as is Rooftop Ray, no doubt, up on the top of the roof, bringing us these pictures. And we're very grateful to all of them for doing that.
Splendid move there from Earl Bamber to take a position away from Simon Pagenaud. He was able to out-position the Corvette into that left-hand kink, and in the end, it was Pagenaud that just had to lift because he was on the wrong side of the track. And Earl Bamber said, "Thank you very much, Jeremy." Yeah,
indeed so. And in fact, earlier on that lap, I think probably in turn 1, Pagenaud also lost a place to the other Porsche, Mark Lieb. So all of a sudden, Simon, we're going from a Chevy 1.2 and a Porsche 3.4 to a Chevy 1.4 and a Porsche 2.3. So it's now Briscoe who leads in car number 3 for Corvette. And he's got about a 10-second lead over Mark Lieb in the 911 car, and not far behind him is number 912 car, his teammate Earl Bamber, and Simon Pagenaud finds himself now behind both of the Porsches. That battle continues to rage, and Patrick Long is now up to speed, but he's fallen a further 14 seconds behind those the other two Porsches, two factory Porsches.
Yeah, Pat Long's time last time around was a 1:46.7, which is back on the pace. Simon Pagenaud slightly slower that time around.
And now we're having more pit stops in GTD. 64 car is still leading, and it's just turned its best lap of the race. Actually, Marcos Gomez is driving that car, a former champion in the Brazilian stock car series. His dad was a champion as well, actually. But so Marcos did an excellent job there. He just turned a best lap of 1:47.5, and he leads that class now over his teammate Anthony Lazzaro. So it's a 64 car ahead of the 63 car. The two Ferraris separated actually by quite a long way on the racetrack, almost half a minute between those two. But I think they will both be on the pit lane. Yes, they will, within the not too distant future. And it's now René Rast in third place, having got past the Viper once again, and it's Sebastian Blekemolen who's taken over from his brother.
Speaking of pit stops and also successful Brazilians, Rubens Barrichello has just brought the number 7 car in, and that looked to be a routine stop from where I was standing. It's in 8th position, the 7 car, having completed 333 laps. Compare that to race leader Jordan Taylor's on 340 currently. But Barrichello back out into the race now at the bottom of that big pile of prototype cars at the top of the screen, 8th position. And it's the last of the prototype cars before you then get to the GTLM traffic. And Ryan Briscoe still heading that ahead of Mark Lee. But Barrichello with some work to do. He's 3 laps behind Christian Fittipaldi in the 5, the Action Express car, which is has had various issues throughout the race. Here comes the Rainbow Ferrari from the lead of GTD then. This is Marcos Gomez.
It is, and a new fastest overall race lap by Jordan Taylor in the leading car number 10. Wayne Taylor Racing at Konica Minolta Dallara Corvette, a 1 minute 39.878, so just thousandths by thousandths they're clipping away those best laps. Been sort of trading fastest laps with Kyle Larson, but here is the Scuderia Corsa crew going to work. It'll be a fresh set of tyres on that number 64 Ferrari. I think there's a driver change. Yeah, there is a driver change as well. So Marcos Gomez clambers out. His work is done for the time being.
Tim's Radio for 2015. We're at Daytona International Speedway for live coverage of the 53rd running of the Rolex 24 Hours. Myself, Johnny Palmer, Jeremy Shaw and Paul Truswell taking you through this latest portion of the race. Only got another hour to go before we hit half distance. It is 12 minutes past 1 o'clock in the morning here in Florida, and this is IMSA Radio. So Jordan Taylor continues to lead, 340 laps in the book. Kyle Larson second, Scott Pruitt third, and Chip Ganassi really well placed here in second and third positions. Can they close in on Jordan Taylor during this stint? It was Taylor with the slimmest of advantages last time around, Jeremy.
Yeah, about 4.5 seconds or so. It's been around about that, almost the same gap since a lap or so after their last round of pit stops, when Jordan Taylor leapfrogged his way past Kyle Larson and into the lead of the race. Meanwhile, back in GTD, bit of a miscue there amongst the 2 Scuderia Corsa Ferraris, because the 64 car had been leading the class, came in for its pit stop. The number 63 car, with Anthony Lazzaro at the wheel, also needed a pit stop and had to pull around and stop directly in front of the number 64 car, which, having completed its own service, had to be pulled back by the mechanics in order to give himself enough wheel turning room to move out around. So that cost the 64 car several seconds, and as close as that GTD battle is, you don't want to be doing things like that.
No, indeed. I mean, it's actually gone out as much as it's gone for quite a long time, nearly 30 seconds separating the first 2, and then a further 25 seconds separating second from third. I've just been using the opportunity to have a little look at how long Kyle Larson has been in that O2 car, because it seems like it's been an awfully long time, and I'm not 100% sure, maybe Joe or someone can check, but I reckon he got into the car on lap, it was either 223 or 270. In either event, he's done a monster stint at the wheel of that car. It's either been something like 70 laps or over 100 laps. I mean, he's allowed to drive for 4 hours at a time in any 6-hour period, so he's not kind of quite close to that, but it's certainly been a very long stint indeed from Kyle Larson.
So if you do drive for 4 hours, you then have to have the next 2 hours off before you can go back in the car again.
Yes, but you have to be careful how you do that, because you're not allowed to drive for more than 4 hours in any 6-hour period. So
yes, okay.
If you only have 2 hours break and then get in the car again, then the 2 bits on either side add up to being more than 6 hours before you know.
So
where
at
you
any chunk of 6 hours, you can't have driven for more than 4 hours of it.
Often.
Okay.
Yeah, they have 4 drivers in that car, so that won't be an issue, because
the rest period won't be an issue.
No,
but the hero stint. I mean, Johnny knows that I'm very fond of identifying hero stints, and this is definitely a hero stint from Kyle Larson. Yeah.
I think a lot of the teams in the overnight hours will do long stints for their drivers. They'll do at least 4, probably, and sometimes 5. I was speaking to I think it was Allmendinger down there earlier on. He got out of his stint, I don't know, 3 hours or so ago, and then he handed the car to Matt McMurray, who did a stint, and then to Oz Negri, who did, I think, a double, and then John Pugh did one, and now AJ is back at the wheel of that car number 60.
So that's been cycling through its drivers much more quickly, and in that time that they've cycled through all 4 of their drivers, Kyle Larson's been droning round and round in the Ganassi car. Yeah,
I don't think Kyle had taken over the lead of the car when I left the pit lane. That was well, he hadn't, and that was 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
but it's certainly been well over 2 hours he's been in the car, hasn't he?
Have you mentioned that time of AJ Allmendinger, by the way, Jeremy? Because that's another fastest lap.
So it is.
340th lap. So the previous one to this one, we're working 3:42 at the moment.
20 laps ago. That's weird. Something is strange with this scoring, because that's just... No, beg your pardon.
We're on 3:42.
That.
We're on lap 3:42, or at least AJ Allmendinger is on lap 3:42 right now. And
Correct.
on lap 3:40, he did a 1:39.724, and that, up until this point, is the fastest lap of the race.
Thank you, Johnny Palmer, the voice of reason.
I'm impressing myself, frankly. At 16 minutes past 1 in the morning, I barely make this sort of sense normally. Jordan Taylor leading by 5.6 seconds from Kyle Larson, and Scott Pruitt in 3rd position. Richard Westbrook still on board the number 90 car, the VisitFlorida.com Racing Corvette DP, and that's just done a 140 point... No, it hasn't. It's done a 141.0. So any sign of that bumping its way up the order? Not really. It's kind of in a bit of no man's land in 5th position, with a minute's margin over David Heinemeier Hansen, who's now on board the number 1 Tequila Patrón ESM Honda HPD. Stop for the 8 car, and is that Barrichello back in again?
Which car?
The 8. No, I'm getting my numbers mixed up.
No, the 8's the PC car. Yeah.
It's not Barrichello, but it is a Martini liveried car.
Yeah, it's the other StarWorks car, the StarWorks PC entry, which has had various lengthy delays, and it's Alex Popov who's driving the car now. It's 8th. Its number 8 is 6th place in the PC class, and a total of 275 laps completed to the 3:33, so it's about 50 odd laps behind.
It's 58
the PC
laps
leader.
Behind the PC leader, and 13 laps behind the car in front of it, which is the number 11 car, which has had its own delays. Gustavo Menezes at the wheel of that car at the moment.
Meanwhile, 2 PC cars right together, heading through turns 1 and 2. Now that's 54 and 52, but they're not on the same lap.
No, they are 1st and 2nd in the class, aren't
Correct, yes. And this is Tom Kimber-Smith attempting to get one of the laps back from John Bennett, and Bennett's car bottoming out there as they head into the bus stop. Hard onto the brakes for both of those cars, and Tom Kimber-Smith does get 1 lap back. Still loads of sparks pouring out the back of the 54 PC machine.
Curious.
Not sure whether that's full of fuel and therefore bottoming him out, or whether it's a suspension issue.
I mean, we have seen that before, that the cars do bottom out on the banking when they're full of fuel.
Yeah.
So, just going back to the Martini car that you just saw, it was actually Mirko Schultes who took over behind the wheel of it, and it was not doing a regular pit stop. It was on its way out of the garage. It had come back from the garages, having spent an hour and 3/4 there, having some work done on it. So it was yesterday when it went into the garage, and it's now today. A big round of applause and a cheer for the StarWorks team for getting their car back out again. Apologies, we missed it originally. We did see it going out, but hadn't quite appreciated the fact that it had been worked upon in the garage for that length of time.
3.2 seconds now, the gap between Jordan Taylor and Kyle Larson. So this hero stint of Larson's continues, and a lot of time found on the last lap around, almost 2 seconds, with Jordan Taylor wary of that 02 car getting a touch larger in the mirrors. A good close-up shot now we're being treated to on our feed as the 54 car works its way through Speedway Turn 2. any further sign of the sparks. Yeah, they're there again. So that car is either very heavy or it has a more serious issue. Lick of flame as well as...
It shouldn't be heavy because it's done 18 laps since its last pit stop.
The barge board is working overtime,
just running that car as low as they possibly can, I suppose. That might explain why it's so fast, because the closer you run, you can run it to the closer you run it to the ground, the greater the downforce it's going to create. At the same time, you run the risk of.
I'm always surprised how much the Porsche 919s spark in the WEC as well, and that's just a part of their design, I think. So clearly, the Flexbox-sponsored team are happy with the car to run like that, and it's leading its class by a significant margin over Tom Kimber-Smith. It's no longer 2 laps, it'll be 1 and almost another 1.
1 and 95 hundredths.
There you go.
Thereabouts.
Round about 4 laps to go until the next set of pit stops for the leading prototypes. So we expect to see them all in a bit of a flurry. Quite possibly it'll be Richard Westbrook who will kind of lead the charge in the number 90 visitflorida.com car. Either he or the number 60 Michael Shank racing car, the two who come in first of all, and then once they've done their pit stops, then we get the rest kind of all come in together one after another, with the Ganassi cars a lap apart from each other.
Kyle Larson getting very close to the 02 car's personal best lap time. Last time around did a 1:39.936, which is only 0.04 of a second slower than that car's best lap of the race. 2 seconds now separating Kyle Larson in second position and Jordan Taylor, who leads the race. And where are they on the circuit? Over the line goes Scott Pruitt in third position, so a minute behind the sister car, Chip Ganassi run machines. So just looking out the window here.
I think they're just heading out onto the the banking, the race leaders.
Separated by absolutely no real estate at all here at Daytona. So Kyle Larson could well be in the lead of the race by these pit stops. When do we expect those again? Sorry, Paul?
Lap 350.
Okay, so another 4 to go. Well, this one and another 3. And over the line, there they go.
Yep.
It's 10, and we've got a caution on track at 23 minutes past 1 in the morning. So 11 hours and 12 minutes into this race. Half a second was the margin between Jordan Taylor and Kyle Larson. And talk about a well-timed caution for Jordan Taylor, because I think he was about to be overtaken there.
But perfect
and this
timing.
will be a flurry of pit stops, presumably.
Perfect timing for both of them as far as the pit stop's concerned. They can't come in straight away because as soon as the safety car appears, the pits are closed. But once the pit lane is open, and I say that shouldn't affect them too much because they've got 5 laps worth of fuel on board, so that should be okay. And the reason for the safety car is apparent because of a smoky Porsche, Johnny.
Which I think is possibly tyre related, because it looks like it's pouring out the rear right, and the smoke just totally disappeared as the car worked its way through the bus stop. Whether that's been contact or a failure. Oh, yes, it is. It's contact, but it's actually coming from front right, I beg your pardon, not the rear right.
Crikey,
and it is tearing the car to bits there. The front right fender has entirely disintegrated. Is that a brush with the wall, perhaps, or with another car? Didn't see the incident myself, but the 912 car we're talking about, Earl Bamber, 5th in class, and it's a front right puncture, and the tyre has entirely popped and has started to eat away at the bodywork.
On the last lap, the 2 Porsches, I didn't see them, but they went past absolutely together. I mean, there was 0.0, not very many, between the 2 ones they went past, so I'm presuming they didn't get together.
Joe Bradley's down there. What do you reckon, Joe?
We've certainly got a shredded right front. Now, that camber can't possibly be right. They've got a lot of camber. He's had a big hit on the right-hand side, and I'm just having a quick look at what I can see. Thought he was shouting to me there. we're ripping off the front bumper. The right-hand side of the front nose of the car, including the splitter, which is all very important with regards to the under. You can hear that in the background. That's the crew absolutely just riving at the front of the car to get rid of that damaged nose. They've got a brand new full nose section in readiness at the front of the car. Now the under tray is also destroyed. That's what is quite important with regards to the creating the downforce at the front of the car.
Joe, this could be absolutely terrible news, not only for the 912 car, but for the 911 machine as well, because there is a car stranded at turn 2, and it looks like it's the 911.
Yeah. No, I think it's the Sebastian Blakemolen Viper, which is equally
really
bad news.
Well, where's the 911 car then?
That I don't know, but I'm...
Because it hasn't come past lately.
So we're waiting for the 911 car, which seems... No, it is the 911 car. Thank you to the guys on the roof that have given us a nice close-up of that. And it's the 911 car, Mark Lieb.
And the right rear tyre wasn't turning around as they pulled that car away. I hate to say this, guys, but I think those two Porsches have got together.
I really
whether
don't want to think
anything else involved, I don't know. But
front right on the 912.
Yeah,
but it's right.
It looks like left rear on the 911, to be perfectly honest.
No, okay. You think left rear rather than right rear?
Well, I mean, the right rear wasn't turning around.
Wasn't turning, but that could be related to the other side of the car. And you said they were right together, separated by tenths of a second.
No,
my word.
Thousands of a second.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Someone's got some explains to do. I mean, maybe there was another car involved down there as well that caused something. Who knows what? But the upshot is that the number 912 car is in the pit lane with a heavily damaged right front suspension. And the right rear is definitely damaged.
The rear wheel is
on
not
the 911 car
rotating at all over there at turn 2.
And a smoke
coming from the
back.
Left rear.
It's
starting to turn now as the car has hit one of the escape routes, but it's on a tow rope behind one of these intervention vehicles. It's smoking heavily. Joe, what more can you tell us?
Are they driving?
Not only are we replacing the front nose, but what's happened is the steel bands from the Michelin tyre have wound themselves around the full suspension unit at the front of this car, and there's definitely the suspension is loose. It's also cut through the brake ducting, so we're not just going to have to. We're not just in the position of changing front bodywork sections of car. We've actually got broken suspension, destroyed brake ducting. This car is going to be in stationary on pit road for a bit longer than we initially thought. There's a lot more damage than we thought.
I'm still trying to take stock of this. So the Porsches, the works Porsches, were well and truly ensconced in the GTLM battle and were keeping the Corvettes honest, and yet to be confirmed, but it's looking suspiciously like they have made contact with each other, purely because it's front right on the 912 car and potentially damage on the left rear of the 911 car. And as Jeremy spotted, they were very, very close indeed heading into turn number 1. As you say, Jeremy, there could have been a third car involved as well.
I'm trying to think positively from their point of view.
For the guys from Stuttgart, indeed.
Well, the drivers, actually, I was thinking more in terms of, because they're going to have to explain what happened.
This is Mark Lieb in the 911 and Earl Bamber in the 912. What a story that is developing here in the middle part of the race. We're not far away from half distance, 11 hours and 18 minutes into the 53rd running of the Rolex 24 Hours.
Mark Lieb tried to drive away in the 911 car. He made it about, I don't know, 50 feet at the very most, and now the car is being dragged ignominiously back behind the safety barriers there on the exit of the International Horseshoe, and that car is going to be on its way back to the pit lane via the access roads. Well, if at all, because the back end looks really badly damaged. The right rear does turn a little bit, but not in the correct orientation.
If you're here at the track,
left-hand side. Sorry.
If you're here at the track, by the way, and you're sat in the grandstand and have a good view of turn number 1, and you saw that incident,
no, the incident was down here.
Was it 2?
I would presume so. Well, good question. It ended up at turn
Yes, it did. I just wonder whether the 911 car just limped around to turn 2 and then onto the grass. But if you were at turn 1, at turn 2, you can shed some light on this, perhaps. Then get involved at Radio Le Mans on Twitter, at IMSA Radio on Twitter, and you can use the hashtag IMSA Radio and Rolex 24. We're going to speak to a driver in a moment or two as well, and we've also had a request on Twitter from Ware Rabbit for another run through of the retired list so far. We'll get Paul Truswell working on that in just a second, but Joe Bradley is with Earl Bamber. I'm sure he knows exactly what's happened. Joe?
Yeah, I didn't see him sneak out of the car. He's just on the perch at the moment, just about to speak to engineers, and we're going to plug in. I'll just grab a quick word with him. Let's step out of the way, Earl. What happened there, mate?
Yeah, the Aston in front, the 007 and the 911 sort of came together over the curbs and then came back across. I had nowhere to go, so I moved on the grass, and then I was just locked in the wet grass, and I spun through the apex and hit the 911, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a big shame for the team and a big mess, but I think we can get it fixed and keep going.
Yeah, it must have been a big hit, Earl. There's broken suspension.
Yeah, I know it was a very hard hit, so no, it's good that the car's strong and we can get back out of the grass and come back to the pit, but it's going to be a big fix for the boys and a hard fight back now.
He's the motivation, mate. We're not even half distance, so I'm sure you'll bring it back.
Yeah, we'll be right.
Good work, Joe. So that throws an awful more bit of light on the whole situation. It was the 007 that Earl said I think was involved. Certainly an Aston, either the 007 or the 009. And is that car still circulating is the next question. But this aftermath over there at turn 2 continues because the 911 car not yet back to the garage, or to the pit lane, I should say. And they're trying to get that onto the back of a flatbed by the looks of things over there now at turn 2. So caution number 9, Paul Truswell?
Yes.
That's right. And it brings us, or it will bring us to 2.5 hours under caution by the time it all shakes itself out. The prototypes already have the pit lane open to themselves, and most of them have availed themselves of the opportunity. It was, let's say, pretty good timing for them in any case, because they were due to do their respective pit stops, and as soon as we know of driver changes, we'll bring those to you that happened during those pit stops, and the GT cars will of course be on their way into the pits to make their stops, although they were slightly less in need of fuel than the prototypes were.
Two sides to every story, of course, and with the at least temporary demise of the two works Porsches, that's promoted Pat Long, who had struggled with the 17 machine at the start of this stint, up to 3rd position within GTLM, and Bruno Spengler in the number 25 BMW now up to 4th position. It's a class led by Ryan Briscoe in the Chevrolet Corvette number 3, from teammate Simon Pagenaud in the other Chevy Corvette number 4. BMW numbers 25 and 24, by the way, backed this weekend by IHG Rewards. And you can click on the link on the IMSA page of radiolemans.com to join the IHG Rewards Club so that you can enter various competitions for some great prizes. On Twitter, it's hashtag IHG Racing. But if you click on the link of the IMSA page of radiolemans.com, get joined to the Rewards Club and get entering those competitions. Work frantically continuing on the 912 car. This is not going to be work of a moment, Jeremy.
It's not, Johnny. It's curious to me that they've chosen to do that work on the pit lane where you're only allowed to get 4 guys over the wall, rather than take it behind the wall when you can get as many people onto the car as you like. Because yes, the major damage is to the right front suspension, but there's going to be some other bits and pieces that are going to need to be cleaned up on that car as well before it gets back going again. It's
one of those things, isn't it? You kind of take it apart, look at it, and then you think, well, if we're going to get it back to the garage, we're going to have to drop it onto some trolley jacks, and then we've got to manoeuvre it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the advantage they've got is that because the safety car is out, the amount of time, the amount of laps that they are losing, time's the same, but the amount of laps that they are losing whilst the safety car is out is vastly reduced.
That's very true. And the other, I mean, what a difference an hour or so makes, because it was about that long ago we had 7 cars still on the lead lap in GTLM, separated by just about a half a minute. Well, now all of a sudden we've got 4 cars on the lead lap in GTLM, and that would be the numbers 3s and 4 Corvettes, which are both into the pits now, and Patrick Long in car number 17, all of them in the pits. Actually, Bruno Sprengler might have gone a lap down, but I don't think he stopped under this caution, so I believe we'll get his lap back. Was he a lap down? He
was a lap down, but because he hasn't stopped, you're absolutely right, he will get it back when it comes around. Same's happened in effect in the prototype category, because we've only got 4 cars left on the lead lap there as well.
3.
Allmendinger
is a lap down. Or was a lap down.
Yes, I think he'll be able to get that back.
Well, they all stopped, didn't they? All the leaders came in. Yes, so if he was able to do a super fast stop and leapfrog ahead of him,
I think he was able. I think he got out in front of Jordan Taylor, the number 10 car. We'll confirm that when they come round on the end of it.
Straight down to the pit lane, Joe Bradley has managed to find Simon Pagenaud from the Chevy Corvette.
Yeah, he's just given over the car. Simon, how surprised are you at just how much of a battle this GTLM class is? I mean, it's like a sprint race over 12 hours so far. Fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely is. You're basically driving a sprint race for your old stint, but everybody is running a sprint race. So same with the traffic. So it's a difficult balance, but it's very enjoyable. What a race! I mean, the GT class is completely incredible.
I take it, Simon, then it's not kind of racing to a plan. You're actually just being sucked along and actually racing.
Yes, you know, the Corvette racing team has welcomed me really well. You know, obviously it takes time to get used to this kind of car, especially having never driven a GT before, and they've done that really well. They've helped me through along the way, and it's good. It's fun. I'm enjoying it, and I hope we can have a good result for Corvette racing.
And also, your season finished in September. What do you IndyCar guys do in that such a long break? You go karting or something?
Well, quite frankly, I'm a little rusty. A lot of training in the gym, not the fun stuff, but it's good to be back. It's good to start racing, and it's a very good warm-up for us IndyCar drivers, but it's also a big race. So, you know, it's one of the biggest, the Classico. So it's good to be here.
Keep it going, mate. Everyone's loving it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, change of driver in the number 4, and Oliver Gavin steps on board. Ryan Briscoe stays in the 3. It's a class, though, GTLM headed by number 17 now, Patrick Long, who was slow to get going, but has now certainly got in the groove. Seen pit stops for a number of the GTLM cars. Jeremy?
Yeah, and also in the pits again now is number 60 car. So you're absolutely right, Paul Trustwell. I think what they did is a splash of fuel in that car to get it out ahead of the others. And then once all the pit stops are completed, they have the final wave by, where the cars that are in between the safety car and the class leader are waved past the safety car, and then they come on around. Well, they did that, and they took advantage of being able to pull out enough of a space to come into the pit lane one more time, and now the number 60 car is leaving the pits, having made an extra stop to top off on the fuel. Great strategy by Michael Shank Racing.
And still on the lead lap.
And back on the lead lap.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where, provided you've got people on the pit wall who know what they're doing and can work it out, right, and whether they do it with software or stopwatches or
common sense in that situation.
Yes, you need to know where the safety car is, and you need to know the work that you're going to do is going to take the amount of time that it needs to be done. And in certain cases, you're going to do 2 pit stops instead of 1. Do half the work on 1 pit stop and the other half of the work on the 2nd pit stop. And we've seen the same tactic employed by Ganassi. In effect, you spend your time coming in and out of the pits and doing the work in little chunks.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's a bit like the guy who has the work done and then, can I have the car back at the end of the day, please? Yes, I'll have the car back at the end of the day, please, so I can then drive it to work, and then you can pick it up and do the rest of the work the next day.
Yeah, great. And also getting a lap back there, respectively, I think, were Christian Fittipaldi in number 5 car, the Mustang sampling entry, and also the number 1 car, David Heinemeier Hansen. They've done exactly the same thing. They again have pulled now into pit lane for a final top-up, and then we'll.
But Fittipaldi is still 2 laps behind in the number 5 car. So even though he's got a lap back, he's not going to get back onto the lead lap. But they can.
Was he 3 laps down or 2?
He was 3 laps, and now he'll be 2 laps down. And obviously, the next time a safety car happens, you'll be able to do the same trick, provided you've got track position.
David Heinemeier Hansen on pit road now, and the car is waved away.
Yep.
So tyre change for the number 1 and some fuel. But I think Heinemeier Hansen stays on board. And the green light now displayed at the end of pit lane. It was briefly red as the safety car train, pace car train worked its way through. And the lights are out, I think.
Green flag being preferred this time, Johnny.
Okay. So
and Kyle Larson stayed behind the wheel through that pit stop as well. So Kyle and Jordan Taylor both doing long old stints. But as I say, from Kyle's point of view, this is seemed to have gone on forever.
Well, he's the young guy, so he gets all the night driving. Is that the deal there?
Well, there's a lot of night to get through, I suppose. You only get one drive to get through the whole night.
That's true.
It's certainly been a monster stint. As I say, I didn't actually get when it started to the minute, but it's certainly going to be up at the 3-hour mark by the time he finishes it.
So just before we get the green flag, at 11.5 hours into the 53rd running of the Rolex 24, it's the 10-car Jordan Taylor that leads from 0-2 Kyle Larson, 0-1 Scott Pruitt, first, second and third in the prototype class. GTLM headed by Ryan Briscoe for Chevrolet Corvette in car number 3, ahead of Patrick Longley, Falcon Tyres, Porsche number 17. Oliver Gavin is third in the second of the Chevy Corvettes. PC still headed by John Bennett. That's been the way of things for quite a while. 3 laps now separate. No, it's only a lap.
Yeah.
It's only a lap, beg your pardon, from Mike Gouache. So the 54 and the 52 cars, first and second in PC. And GTD is headed by Jeff Segal now from Kuno Whitmer. So Jeff Siegel leading the way in 63 from 93. And the safety car peels away then from the front of the pack. And all of a sudden it's the runners under starters orders, and the green flag is waved. Plenty of overtaking being done before the start-finish line, which you're able to do, and it's almost 4 abreast heading down to turn 1. Surely they're not all going to get through there. So far so good. One GTD car very, very slow indeed, as the 2 Chip Ganassi runners work their way around the outside line, which will give them the inside line for turn 2. Braking as late as possible, the 0-1 and the 0-2 cars. Jordan Taylor still hanging on to the lead just about from Kyle Larson and Scott Pruitt, but they are like a hot knife through butter here to get rid of this GT traffic as quickly as possible and be back out in front. So it's Jordan Taylor around the outside of the car that started the restart at the head of the order, number 63. Jeff Siegel in the number 63 Ferrari, and there goes Jordan Taylor in front to manage to get ahead of something like 4 or 5 GTD cars before they reach turn 5 and then up onto the banking into turn 1 of the speedway. Great driving that from Jordan Taylor and from Kyle Larson and Scott Pruitt to stay out of trouble, but also dispense with the GT traffic. And it's like a Monday morning on the M25 here, as all this traffic pours out from the infield and onto turns 1 and 2, 3 abreast running very easily, maybe even 4 abreast running, not quite, on the banked section through turns 1 and 2 of the speedway, and now braking for the bus stop. Was there contact there? That was one of the Corvette DPs trying to get by. Possibly still René Rast on board the Audi. No, it's Christopher Haase now who's taken over from René in the 48 car. So, a question of where to look next. GTDs are 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th and 21st in the overall standings. It's Jeff Siegel that leads from Kuno Whitmer in the 93 Viper, and then Francisco Longo in 3rd position within GTD, ahead of Christopher Haase, as I mentioned, in the Audi. Lee Keane, though, just getting the jump, actually, on Haase there. So the 22 WeatherTech Porsche gains a spot on that lap after the restart.
Yeah, and the two leaders there separated by maybe a couple of seconds. Jordan Taylor ahead of Kyle Larson. Scott Pruitt right there in third place as well. And AJ Allmendinger resumed kind of at the back of the pack, having, you know, with that strategic decision to make a second pit stop. He therefore was the back of the whole train of cars. So he's got some ground to make up to get onto the tail leaders, but the good news is he's back on the lead lap and right back into contention. Also, the David Heinemeier Hansen in that Tequila Patrón ESM car number 1, he is just 1 lap down now to the race leaders, and Richard Westbrook in car number 90 and Christian Fittipaldi in car number 5 are both now just 2 laps behind the overall race leaders.
Back out onto the banking goes the race leader Jordan Taylor, and the 60 machine of AJ Allmendinger trying to close up and lap once more the 7 car of Rubens Barrichello. Yeah,
Rubens is running a pretty good pace. He's just got himself 1 lap one lap ahead from where he was. So yeah, they both did the same strategic decision by splitting their pit stop basically into 2 to make sure they got their lap back.
Yep.
So Rubens and AJ Allmendinger came out of the pits kind of nose to tail, and now they're working their way through the rest of the traffic.
They've just overtaken John Bennett in the lead of PC up there at turn 3 of the Speedway section, and through the tri-oval they go now. 5 or 6 cars all barreling their way into turn 1 right now. A huge mixture of classes as well. There's a PC car in there, a couple of Corvettes, and in fact it's Oliver Gavin that leads GTLM now in car number 4 ahead of Ryan Briscoe in the 3. Patrick Long has lost a spot therefore in the Falcon Tyres Porsche number 17. Bruno Spengler in the 25 BMW is 4th. As through the left-hand kink then goes the GTLM leader, about to lap. That may well be the Tully's Coffee Porsche, which is still missing its rear wing, number 81. And looking rather sorry for itself. Yeah, it's a headlight missing as well, but the car at least is running again. Number 81 needs to be careful not to make contact with the 60 of AJ Allmendinger, who's muscles his way up the inside there at turn 5.
That was awfully close, wasn't it, between those two?
Just a touch, yes.
No, just a touch or no touch?
No, there wasn't a touch.
Good.
It was a touch close, but there was no touch. It was just a hair's breadth between them. I think AJ knew what he was doing, and thankfully the driver of the number 81, who is, can't tell you immediately because it's off the first page of the screen.
Kuba Gamaziak.
Kuba Gamaziak, yeah. Well, he'll be used to racing in traffic from his Super Cup, Porsche Super Cup experience.
Yeah, what's happening in GTD? So it's Jeff Siegel who still leads. You pointed that out a little while ago, and Kuno Whitman not too far behind him now in that number 93 Viper. Francisco Longo, who's kind of the gentleman driver, not kind of, he is the gentleman driver in that number 64 team. So he is now back to 3rd place in the class, and I would suggest about to be overtaken by both Lee Keane in the number 22 Alex Job Racing Porsche, and also Christopher Haase in the Paul Miller Racing Audi R8 LMS. And then lurking behind those two also is number 33 car with Sebastian Blaker-Molen driving. I saw Michael Dad down in the pit lane earlier on. Unfortunately, didn't get a chance to speak to him. Don't think I've seen him since his Formula 3 days. Oh, wait a minute. Don't go there.
John Bennett continues to lead the PC class in 13th position in the overall standings, and there's that lap, as I mentioned, between he and Mike Gouache. And Max Papis working his way up the order still in the 31 wheel and back car. It's taken him a little while to get to 15th position overall. Still got a way to go to join the rest of the prototype cars at the top of the pile, but nevertheless, if he makes quick work of, well, I say quick work, he's got an awful lot of laps to catch up on just those PC cars ahead. On lap 338 currently is Max Papis, and then John Bennett, who's in the lead of the PC class, is on lap 346 right now. So that is a fair old margin to try and catch up on after the 31 car sat out the race for a while to get some work done on it.
Yeah, it did, but it has been a great fight back, and particularly, we talked about it a little while ago, but Phil Keane there, the Englishman, 31 years of age from Henley-on-Thames, and he is the winner of last year's Sunoco Whelan Challenge, and he's played a starring role in British GT, finished 4th in the British GT Championship last year. Also, did he win the Radical SR3 Championship? Or I think he was running in Radicals as well, which was enabling him to get enough points to win that Sunoco Whelan Challenge. And boy, is he taking advantage of that. It's his first race here in North America in the Tudor Series, and he did an exemplary job, and he has set the fastest lap of the drivers in that car. When there's the caliber of Eric Curran, Max Papis and Dane Cameron, that's a pretty impressive feat.
Meanwhile, very close
back at the ranch
into turn 4, going through that right-hander. A couple of Corvette DPs, that's the 90 car with Richard Westbrook at the wheel, being caught by Christian Fittipaldi, and they are on the same lap, so this is a race for position. 0.2 of a second it was as they started this lap, and the 5 car just a smidge quicker, you sense, as they head by the GT version of the Corvette. That's the 4 car, so class leader Ollie Gavin making way for the Corvette DPs that now turn left and right at the bus stop, feed their way back onto the banked section, and the 32 degrees of banking, which heads through turns 3 and 4 now, and then in a moment or two back to the tri-oval. But Christian Fittipaldi looking like he might be able to get back into the top 6 here.
Yeah, 31, 32 degrees of banking, and not many more degrees of temperature at the moment. I think it's pretty chilly out there. It's not quite that bad, but it's, I think, low 40s or so. So it's certainly pretty nippy out there. But the good news is there isn't the wind that we had earlier on in the day.
Now that has dropped, and well, we almost needed the wind this morning to blow those rain clouds away, because it did pour down quite heavily during one of the support races this morning. 44
degrees it's showing on my weather, whatever it is, app. That's the one.
Your thermometer.
Very good.
Thermometer. That's it.
Your mercury.
44 degrees. So we're in America, so chaps. So we're going to do degrees, I'm afraid. 44 degrees.
Which is
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
6.7 Celsius.
Okay.
Not very many.
And it's going to get colder.
Good lap there. Great lap again there from Jordan Taylor. 39.812. Is that the fastest lap of the race again? He takes that back again? Not quite.
It's 39.7 from Allmendinger.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the second time. It's a second successive lap, because on 3:56 he improved down to a quicker time, and that is another quick lap from Kyle Larson, a 39.736. Of course, this is the post-safety car period where you haven't got much traffic about, which helps good lap times. So both Jordan Taylor and Kyle Larson doing sub 1 minute 40 laps, so 1:39.8 for Jordan Taylor, in fact 2 laps in the 1 minute 39.8 for Jordan Taylor, and a 39.7 for Kyle Larson. AJ Allmendinger goes through now in a 1 minute 40.5. He doesn't improve on that one.
Yeah, so that's right, isn't it? Jordan Taylor and Kyle Larson both turn in the best laps for their respective cars.
And Max Papis also putting in his best lap in the number 31, the Whelan sponsored car. You were talking about it. Max now at the wheel of it. 1:39.9, the fastest lap for that car. So as it gets cooler, then the engines perform a little bit quicker. And the track, of course, is rubbering in nicely, and it'll have a good racing line forming around it, which is also good for quick lap times. And as I say, it is predicted to get cooler as the night wears on. It is only not even 2 o'clock in the morning after all. And if you are out there, make sure you are wrapped up warm. And as I say, that provides us with the opportunity as the sun rises that it might yet get still quicker.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We're just chipping away at that fastest lap of the race and trading it amongst themselves. It's a really fascinating battle. The pace of this race just getting a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker, and we've still got we're not even at half distance yet. 12 hours and 16 minutes left to go, so 11 hours and 44 minutes down. And it's been a fascinating contest in most of the classes. Well, all of the classes really. Even PC, that we've had a lot of attrition there, but there's still just a one lap now between John Bennett and Mike Gouache in incumbents of 54 and 52 respectively. Excuse me. And in GTLM we have the 4 cars on a lead lap. Oliver Gavin, car number 4, Ryan Briscoe, the sister Corvette, car number 3, and the number 17 Falcon Tires Porsche of Patrick Long, and the number 25 BMW Z4 GTE of Bruno Spengler.
Johnny, did you want us to review retirements? Because you did mention it a little while ago, and I don't think we ever did it.
I don't think we did.
No, so shall we just run through those that we know for a fact that they've been officially posted as retired, and then we can kind of consider those that we might expect not to see again. Starting at the bottom and working up, as it were, the number 0 Delta Wing that went out with a broken gearbox fairly early on. The number 0 is out. The number 2 car, the Tequila Patrón HPD Honda went out. I think that was a broken engine that befell that car. The number 19 GTD Porsche, the car of the Mulner Motorsports, which was one of Conor de Phillippe's cars. I think he is out, although it's not been officially retired. The number 57 Krone Racing Ligier is confirmed as a retirement, although it hasn't been officially posted as such on the screens. The number 28 is another of the GTD. This is the Conrad Porsche. That's now officially confirmed as a retirement. Then the number 70 Mazda, which James Hinchcliffe was driving. That car is out of the race officially. The number 51 Ferrari in the GTLM class, that went out with accident damage. The number 23 GTD Porsche is another retirement. I'm not quite sure if we got to the bottom of why that did retire. That's the Team Seattle Alex Job Racing Porsche number 23 that's retired. And also in the PC class, which has been fairly a troubled class, the number 38 Performance Tech Motorsports Orica is also confirmed as a retirement. So those are the official ones. And then, I'm quite sure 007 has been away in the garages for quite a long time. We did hear a report that was involved in the incident at the International Horseshoe.
Just arrived on pit road.
Has it? Okay,
yes.
so it might still have some life in it yet.
Bearing the scars of that nasty incident at turn 5, where it made contact with the 51 Ferrari, of course, it was trying to rejoin Francois Peraudo. And the 007 car is being seen to at the moment in the pit box. And the other confirmed retirement, and it is currently the only other confirmed retirement, is the number 62 Ferrari of Giancarlo Fisichella, another of the GTLM category cars. Let's head down to the pit lane very quickly to have a word with Joe Bradley. Well, actually, Joe Bradley's going to try and have a word with Martin Plowman from the number 16 car. Have you still got Martin, Joe?
Yes, I have. He's just grabbing a bite to eat. But it's another recovery story. It's the number 16 Bar 1 Motorsports PC pole sitter, Johnny Molam at the wheel of the car. Martin Plowman with me now. Now, Martin, we're 10 laps off the leader in your class, but Johnny seems to be lapping about 2 or 3 seconds quicker. So by my swift calculation, by about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you might be in with a shout.
I think so. It's not bad for an old guy, is he?
Yeah, he's still got it, hasn't he?
He's old enough to be my dad, so, you know.
I bet you daren't say that to his face.
Oh, I do. Don't worry about it.
Good lad, I like it. So basically, are we? You know, I said to Brian earlier, Brian Holder, your team owner, I said the pressure's off really. Now you can just go absolutely flat chat because there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we'll just go head down and just go for it. There's nothing to lose. You know, we're 10 laps down, but you know there's a long way to go. We just got to just give it our all and hopefully get a podium at least.
Are you next in the car? Are you?
I believe so. I've been on standby the last 6 hours. I was just asleep when I got a text message and it says, "Can you get here quickly?" So I sprinted here, and then they said, "I waved it off. We found Johnny." It was He was hiding somewhere.
Oh dear. And you're snacking on protein bars, I see.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah.
Is it a chocolate biscuit? I've said no. This is actually a protein bar. Yeah.
Peanut almond and dark chocolate. So there's a bit of badness in there, but it's all good, right?
No, it's all good. What you're going to do, Martin? I'll leave you to your preparation in case Morland decides he's too old and brings it in.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks, you.
Mate.
Thank you.
Nice to hear from a fellow West Midlander there. Tamworth's finest, Martin Plowman. Of course, he had
Great
that Le Mans class win. Was that 2013? Quite recently, but it wasn't last year. I think it was 12 or 13 in the P2 division. Work continues on the 912 machine. This is still on the apron, and it's looking a lot better than when I last checked.
And they just put a new front valance on the car, new whole front section. The hood is going on as well, the bonnet going on that car. It was a complete new front section, because that's pristine, and the bonnet itself is all rubbered in, so to speak. Lots of rubber marks all over that one. And meanwhile, the number 911 car is back in the garage. They might be working on it, but I'm surprised they've been working on this 912 car all that time in the pit lane. I certainly wouldn't really want my mechanics working out there all that time on the pit lane, I must admit.
Yes, I mean, it's sometimes the job that can be done can't be done any better by more mechanics. So, as I say, and once you've started, you might as well finish it. But it is looking in pretty good shape. I think my biggest concern would be for the cooling system, because that's where all the radiators and such are on the 911. And
that's certainly what you're absolutely right. One of the things they worked on with this latest version of this car is to make those a little bit less susceptible to damage than they were in the past, because certainly that was a fairly major Achilles heel. Any front end contact from one of these cars was going to result in a punctured radiator.
But it is looking pretty good for that car. It's been at rest for 25 minutes, 26 minutes.
Gosh, it seems like longer than that for them.
And of course, some of that 26 minutes, the safety car was out, so it didn't lose many laps as it might have done. And as it goes back out, it will go through. Yeah, it's 15 laps behind.
17.
Yeah, 17 laps behind the leader of the class. 15 laps. Behind Bruno Spengler's BMW.
Jordan Taylor now leading by 4.6 seconds.
How many times have we said that? We've said that a lot, haven't we? Jordan Taylor leads by 4.6 seconds.
Yeah.
We've been saying that just about every time. Every time we've seen those two for the last, I don't know, hour and a half probably.
But
so
actually, he lost something like 1.7 seconds on the last lap around. Kyle Larson's eaten a tiny bit into his lead that time. It's 4.5 seconds now. But Taylor lost quite a bit on lap 3:63. Much better run though that time around for the American.
Well, they're both Americans, but they're really keeping a very equitable pace between the two of them, aren't they? They're both, they lose a little bit here in the traffic, they gain it a little bit there in traffic, and they're both doing an absolutely fine job and turning pretty consistent laps, considering there's still a lot of cars. There's been a certain amount of attrition certainly, but there is still quite a bit of traffic out there, and both of these two guys, these young guys, both in the early 20s, 23 Jordan Taylor, 22 Kyle Larson, really doing a fine job. And in third place there, Scott Pruitt, who's a little bit older, to put it mildly. 54 now is Scott Pruitt, but what a fabulous job he does. I mean, Scott Pruitt is the master professional.
And equals Hurley Haywood in terms of the number of times he's won this race, in 5 times for the both of them. So if Pruitt won this, he would actually be the most successful.
Has he won 5 of them already? Oh.
You can look that up now, but I would say 99%.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, of course you are. Yeah. 04, 08, and then 10, 11, and 12. Oh, wait a minute. That was his championships, wasn't it? 5 championships.
Let me get my stats up, and we'll compare and contrast.
Oh no. Let's have a look.
5 minutes past 2 here in Daytona, and it is the 53rd running of the Rolex 24, the 48th 24-hour race, by the way. Are you tapping me on the back? Does that mean I'm right?
Yes.
I didn't think I was making that up somehow.
He also leads with 10 class wins, does Scott.
Did he win it in 13 as well? You said...
well, the championships he won 2004, 2008, 10, 11 and 12. The wins here, I'm going to have to dig a bit deeper.
Okay.
But I'm just looking in the record book here rather than my records, because I never actually have it on my particular chart.
I've got a feeling he's won them all for Ganassi as well, hasn't he?
Not sure on that. Again, that needs a bit of homework. If you know, by the way,
won one of them with the
get in touch with us. Get in touch with us via Twitter at Radio Le Mans and at IMSA Radio. Just imagine plenty of people at home screaming at their radio, screaming at their internet system, you know, via IMSA Radio. If you know the answer, because we're scratching our heads here, we'll find out the stats, but you probably will beat us to it. At Radio Le Mans and at IMSA Radio. You can hashtag as well using the IMSA Radio and Rolex 24 hashtag. And we'll try and give you a mention if you beat us to it.
Scott Pruitt first won the Nissan, Rolex 24 in a Nissan in 1994. Yep. He won it again in 2007 with a Lexus Riley, in 2008 with the Lexus Riley, in 2011 with the BMW Riley, and in 2013 with the BMW Riley. Yeah,
so they were four wins then with Ganassi and one with Clayton Cunningham's Nissan team. Yeah,
back in 1994.
Yeah, that was a GT class car winning overall that year.
Which happened a lot, didn't it? Oh, I'd say it happened a lot. It happened on more than one occasion, 4 or 5 occasions.
Absolutely.
Even having Vipers winning on occasion, didn't we?
Yeah. So, something different in the differential between the two leaders now. 3.4 seconds this time around. That Jordan Taylor leads by Carlos. And didn't we see just before we went to the last, I think it was the last caution period, all of a sudden that gap had shrunk actually, hadn't it? And then the caution came out, or they were due pit stops. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. It was down to about half a second.
Yeah.
So Larson was reeling Taylor in, as he's doing now. By the way, Christian Fittipaldi is past Richard Westbrook for 6th position in the prototype class. That was in the offing, and the Brazilian's got by the Brit now. So 5 ahead of 90. 8th place is still the 7 car of Rubens Barrichello. And then you're into the GTLM traffic. Something's just changed there, actually, because side by side across the line, Ryan Briscoe snatches 2nd place from Pat Long. They're heading just out of turn 1 now and in towards the International Horseshoe. And it's the Chevrolet Corvette of Ryan Briscoe ahead of Pat Long. Bruno Spengler in 4th position. It's a class led, though, by Ollie Gavin.
Yeah, so that battle is ongoing between Briscoe and Long. And Bruno Spengler, he's a fair bit back in 4th place in the class and just goes through now. He's about 27 seconds behind the battle for 2nd and 3rd. In the meantime, Oliver Gavin, he's pulled out a pretty good margin for the lead in GTLM. He's about 20 seconds ahead now of his teammate car number 3 and/or Patrick Long in the Falcon Tire Porsche car number 17. And in GTD, it's still Jeff Siegel who leads by about 5 seconds over Kuno Whitmer in the number 93 Viper. So it's a 63 Ferrari of Jeff Siegel, followed by the number 93 Viper of Kuno Whitmer. And up into 3rd place in the class is the Audi of Christopher Haase, car number 48, and then the Porsche 911 GT America, car number 22 of Lee Keane. So it's Ferrari, Dodge, Audi and Porsche, the top 4 cars, 4 different manufacturers in GTD, and they're running in 16th, 17th, 18th and 19th places overall now. 350 laps completed by those cars next time around.
Lee Keane had a very slow lap last time around, something like 2.5 seconds off the pace of Christopher Haase, and they've just gone through. No, they haven't just gone through now. We're waiting for them to complete lap 350.
You're right. In fact, Christopher Haase took the position from Lee Keen on that lap.
Okay. So car 48 back into the provisional podium positions after that good stint from René Rast prior to Haase taking over. The 10 car works its way out of turn 4 and down towards the left-hander, which will then take Jordan Taylor back onto the banking. 4.6 seconds, it's back to. It'd been a little while, hadn't it, since that margin was there. That's Jordan's favourite time to be leading Kyle Larson by.
It's been a great battle between those two, and that's old Scott Pruitt. Sorry, Scott, but Scott Pruitt is there in third place, and the gap back to him, it's only 14 seconds behind the race leader. So Scott's pretty much keeping pace with the two youngsters. You know, still a long way to go in this race. Scott, as we've just been talking about, knows how to win this race. He's done it on 5 occasions, equaling the great Hurley Haywood, and he's looking for number 6 this well, yeah, we now can say this afternoon. And by the time this race is completed.
And as you say that, Jeremy, the race reaches exactly its half-distance point. So I don't know if it was deliberately so well timed, but there we are, 12 hours gone to well, it's 10 past 2 in the morning. The race started pretty much on the dot of. In the end, it was scheduled for various purposes to start at 11 minutes past 2, and
okay,
that was when it did. So there's the clock. Slightly confusing in that you've got a digital clock counting downwards and a Rolex rotary clock counting upwards.
It's IMSA Radio then for 2015, and as Paul mentions, we are at half distance of the 53rd running of the Rolex 24. It's Paul Truswell, Jeremy Shaw and myself, Johnny Palmer, taking you through, well, the next hour or so, and then it'll be my time to step down and hand over to John Hindhaugh, but we're at half distance. Thank you for tuning our way. Remember, you can get involved at Radio Le Mans and at IMSA Radio via Twitter. We're back very shortly.
Racing on America's classic circuits. This is IMSA Radio.
Here's the top 5 then in the overall standings. Jordan Taylor in the number 10 leads Kyle Larson in the 02 and Scott Pruitt in the 01. 02 and 01, of course, both the Chip Ganassi Riley cars with their Ford EcoBoost engines. Chip Ganassi racing with Felix Abartes being the team, and Scott Pruitt at a mere 54 years old, doing very well indeed to be 10 seconds now behind Kyle Larson. Larson is edging actually further away from Jordan Taylor. The gap up to 7/10 of a second, so a slow run that time around for the 02. It's the 60 car of AJ Allmendinger in 4th position, car 60 being the Michael Shank Racing entered Ligier JSP2 with its Honda engine. 5th place is the number 1 David Heinemeier Hansen car and the sole surviving Tequila Patrón ESM on the Honda HPD. That's the ARX 04B model. And in 6th position is the 5 car of Christian Fittipaldi. Of course, that car got by the number 90 of Richard Westbrook just a few moments ago.
Yeah, I was talking to the engineer down in the number 90 pit, Gary Grossenbacher, a few hours ago now, and he was saying that they're lacking in straight line speed compared to most of the other contenders in the prototype category, and he wasn't too worried about it at that stage, but he said, we might have to, we came into the race relatively conservatively, running a little bit more wing angle, I think, than most of the other contenders in the class, just to try and look after the car. But at the same time, he did suggest that later in the race it might be appropriate to go to a little lower downforce configuration on the car to try and pick up some speed if and when they need to go for it in the latter stages of the race. But AJ Allmendinger, as you said there, Johnny Palmer, in 4th place in car number 60 for Michael Shank Racing. The gap to the deficit to the overall race leader, around about 35, 36, 37 seconds, which is really what it's been since the restart, when AJ had to take the restart at the back of the pack, having done a creative pit stop strategy which involved 2 pit stops, so he had to rejoin at the very tail of the field, had a long way to come through, and that was about the deficit, about 35 seconds, which is what it is remains right now.
Not a lot of real estate between Ryan Briscoe and Pat Long, by the way. They're heading into turn 2 at the moment, the International Horseshoe. And last time around, Pat Long was a 1/10 of a second quicker. He actually closed in by a larger margin on the previous lap, lap 361. So they're currently working lap 363 now. The top 4 within GTLM, they're all on the class lead lap, if you like. It's Gavin from Briscoe, so 2 Chevy Corvettes out front, then the Porsche of Patrick Long and the BMW of Bruno Spengler.
Yeah, there's 4 cars on the lead lap of the race overall, 4 cars on the lead lap of the GTLM class, and then we've got 5 cars on the lead lap for GTD, so and only 2 cars on, in fact only 1 car on the lead lap of PC, because although 54 and 52 is circulating very close together on the road, they're a lap apart in PC.
We think we can expect pit stops for the leaders fairly soon, Paul. Is that right? It should be not too long, I would think.
I did work it out.
There goes Jordan Taylor to complete lap 372.
Yeah, 374 he is due in.
And there goes Kyle Larson in second place. That gives you a differential between first and second. And look to my left, coming out of turn 4 and across the start finish line now goes Scott Pruitt in third place in car number 01, heads into turn 1. And in the meantime, the 4th place car of AJ Allmendinger is probably now coming around turn 4 or somewhere around about there, coming through the NASCAR banking, I would anticipate.
Just caught a glimpse on our feed then, TV feed here in the booth, of a Muhaina Motorsports America Porsche come to a halt. Now one of them's retired, I reckon. Trust you,
yes.
You mentioned that in the retirement list, didn't you, a little while ago? Was it the 19 that's out? So that can only be the 18 car that had stopped. Now I thought it was coming out of turn 4, that run up toward the short run up to the left-hander that then leads the circuit back onto the main banked oval here. But it's moved from there. If it was that point,
it was, and it did come past just now, actually, Johnny, having done a lap in 2 minutes 58, and that wasn't an out lap, so a very slow lap. Mark Basseng is at the wheel of that number 18 Porsche at the moment.
So Basseng back up and running, and so it's gone through, has it? It's not come into the pits.
No, it went through on the track, and seemingly all, I say seemingly all is well. It did have a very long pit stop, its last pit stop, but since that pit stop it's been running well enough, and by very long I mean 50 minutes was its time in the pits or in the garage.
We heard a few minutes ago, didn't we, from Martin Plowman talking about his quote-unquote dad, or guy old enough to be his dad, Johnny Molan. And Johnny Molan still having pretty good speed. He does have good speed. He's just turned the best lap in that car of 1 minute 43.591, which is only a gnat's whisker slower than the best lap in the class, which was set a long time ago now by Colin Brown in car number 54. The 4-time champion team for Core Autosport. So Johnny Molan there for bar 1. They've had some lengthy delays, but the car now back up into 3rd place in the class, and Johnny turning some pretty quick laps.
Yes, I mean, we know the car is quick, having started it from pole position.
Absolutely.
In
Great
the
lap.
class.
Yeah, that was a fine effort, wasn't it, by Johnny Molan to put that car on the pole in the PC. It was a last lap effort. He pulled everything out of the bag to put that lap together. He just nipped ahead of Colin Brown, and deservedly got a big pat on the back from everybody at Bar 1 Motorsports.
GTD leader in the pit lane at the moment. That's 63 Jeff Siegel. And that's the routine pit stop. Also the number 31 Whelan Daytona prototype Corvette DP. That's having a routine pit stop. Max Papis behind the wheel.
Yeah, it didn't seem that long ago the number 63 car was on pit lane, but fair enough. I think we can expect the overall leaders in fairly soon as well. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, what I was going to say was that Jordan Taylor, all of a sudden, the gap isn't 4.7 or 4.6 seconds any longer. It's all of a sudden, it's over 9 seconds.
That's because Jordan's just set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, Jeremy.
Yeah.
1:39.684 eclipses the Allmendinger lap from earlier on. So as the night goes on, the cars are just getting quicker and quicker, which is in some ways unusual for long distance races. You tend very often to get a fast lap early on in the race, and that's it. But
yeah, that's a cool thing I think about this. You know, these tyres. You know, they only have one specification of Continental tyre. They don't have 3 or 4 different specs they can run. That's it. What you got is what you run for the whole time. I think that's great, and it just shows you as the track gets better, as the drivers get more familiar, as more rubber is laid down, and if the track conditions are good, then yeah, they're going to go faster and faster and faster. I think that's fabulous. So what a great lap! What a great stint this has been from Jordan Taylor, and now the gap all of a sudden is over 10 seconds. Scott Pruitt is now 19 seconds behind in 3rd place, and AJ Allmendinger all of a sudden 43 seconds back in 4th. So it's not a question of anything other than Jordan Taylor putting his foot down as he gets towards the end of this long stint. It might be him coming into pit lane now, perhaps. But it's been a brilliant effort by Jordan Taylor in car number 10.
Very much so, and yeah, if he and Kyle Larson could share the Hero of the Race award, then that would probably be fair, with still half the race remaining for it to be awarded.
Right, it wasn't him in the pit lane. I think that was the...
it was Kyle Larson coming in.
It was Kyle Larson coming in, wow.
So, and that's unusual, because that's the first time that the number 02 has pitted before the number 01.
And a quick message in my ears from Joe Bradley to say that Scott Dixon is about to get on board that car. So it'll be Scott Dixon to take over the 02.
Thanks, Ray. Rooftop Ray stepping into the action here so we can see the shots of Dixie leaving the pit lane. Routine service, I believe, there for Chip Ganassi racing with Felix Sabatis, and that number 02 car. We can expect, I think, Jordan Taylor in next time around, and Scott Pruitt also probably in next time. Yeah, here is Jordan Taylor now.
The guys from Chip Ganassi are staying out there on the apron, almost as if they're ready to receive the other car. Joe Bradley, though, is down there with Kyle Larson, fresh from the 02 car. Joe.
Monster stint, Kyle. Tell us about that. It must have, I mean, what an outstanding stint that was for you.
Yeah, a lot better than last year for me. Started out just as bad. Right when I got in the car, I spun out under caution, and was good since then. I felt like I was running pretty fast laps. Got to lead a little bit, which was cool. Raced my way to the lead, which was awesome. This 02 car is really fast, so hopefully no more problems throughout the night. Hope we can keep the splitter on it and try and get a watch. That'd be really cool. This is probably the most, well, if I was to win this, this would definitely be the most prestigious win I have on my resume. So really happy about it. A lot better than last year. I was down after last year, and this time it's gone a lot better, so I'm excited.
Towards the end of your stint, the Taylor car's just been eking out a little bit of a gap from you. Did you stick to the team plan, or did you feel like you needed to get sort of involved with the Taylor car, or did you just stick with what you were doing?
Yeah, I was just trying to keep it on the track. Had a couple sketchy moments there, you know, a few laps before I just pitted, and yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to mess up. There's still a lot of the race left to go, and you know, I'm the 4th string driver, so I don't want to be the guy to mess it up.
And such a relatively inexperienced driver, you can gather a lot of experience in such a long stint like you've done here.
Yeah, I definitely gained a lot of experience there, especially following the 10 car. I think they said it was Ricky Taylor in it. Honestly, I don't know who he is, but he's really fast. And I
learned a lot, so I'm sure I'll get back in later or earlier in the morning, and hopefully it goes good again.
And what's the rest of 2015 for you, Kyle?
I'll just be on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with Target Chip Ganassi Racing, and last year we got Rookie of the Year in that, so hopefully go for the championship this season.
So you don't mind turning left, turning right now and again?
No, I like road course racing. We just don't get to do it ever in NASCAR. We get 2 races, and wish we could do a few more. But ovals is what I grew up on. It's what I'm comfortable with. So hopefully we can get some wins this year in that.
Well, you would never have been easy to see that you were uncomfortable out there. Great stint, monster stint from you, Kyle Lawson. Well done.
Thank you.
And hopefully now, having tried to pursue both Ricky and Jordan Taylor, he'll know who those brothers are. Maybe they can meet up at Marion's.
Yeah, that's curious. He would have raced against them last year, so I can't understand why he wouldn't have heard of them.
Okay.
But meanwhile, we are under yellow
yes,
for
we are.
the, 10th time.
Yes.
Lap 376 completed by the leader. Do we know why the caution came out? Was it because of car number 1?
I don't know. We did see number 1 stationary, but getting going again over at turn 1. But we only saw it there after the caution had been called. Now, whether that was what triggered the caution or not, I don't know. The number 1 car, the screen's showing us, has got going again and is circulating pretty quickly around the banking, trying not to lose any more time. The green period was 40 minutes, so this has to be a full length caution as far as I know. I think although the organisers can call it as a short one if they so choose.
No, they can't.
Can they not? They are forced to make it as a...
Only in the last half an hour of the race.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it is. Yeah. I knew there was a circumstance where...
Yeah.
So we do have to go through the whole procedure, which is... And the problem is going to be for... you asked this question, Jeremy, for Jordan Taylor, because he pitted again after the yellow had been shown.
No, I think it was just before, actually. I'm pretty sure it was just before the yellow came out.
I've got a...
or was it not?
The marvellous support that I've had from Dave Pease over in the IMSA timing gives me what state the flag was in, what state the track was in when anybody comes into the pits. And it does say that Jordan Taylor came into the pits under yellow. And we also now have the number 1 car... the number 01 car coming into the pits under yellow as well, and that's before the pit lane has been opened.
Right, that certainly is a emergency service only one. I don't know if Jordan did come in under when the yellow was already out when he came in. He was jolly unlucky because he must have been awfully close to getting into the pit lane before the yellow came out. So that's the second time it's happened to those guys in this race, if that is indeed the case. Yeah. And it certainly has not worked out in favour of Scott Pruitt. AJ Allmendinger was also in, I believe, on the same lap as Kyle Larson. So the number 2 car, which had now been taken over by Scott Dixon, and AJ Allmendinger, who stayed at the wheel in the number 60 car, could therefore be the beneficiaries if both the 01 car, which we know is going to have to make one more pit stop, and the 10, whether that one does or not, we will see momentarily.
Or in a moment. The number 90 was the other one, Richard Westbrook, in the visitflorida.com car. That was another emergency service stop coming in. He came in just before the number 10 Jordan Taylor car came in.
Interesting that which was the Chip Ganassi car that just stopped? That was the 01 that was held at the end of the pit lane because the red light was on. That's fine, I understand that. But there was a car just beyond the main white line, kind of stopped at another white line just beyond that, where you should be technically back up to speed. Now, I was trying to work out which car it was that was stopped. It was another Daytona prototype, and it's strange because as the green lights were shown at the end of the pit lane, that car a bit further on didn't get moving, and I wondered whether it was going to be the 01 that was held up behind it, but in the end it just ducked around it, and both cars are back into the race. Is there another point where you can kind of stop then beyond the, that strip of 4 lights which turns red? there was another DP just a bit further beyond. Whether it had stalled, yeah, it may well have been that car that is being focused in upon by our feed now, the 66. Whether it was just an issue that had ground that car to a halt, but it is moving well now, thankfully.
That is the RG Racing car, Robert Gewertz's car. David Cheng, the Chinese-American, shown at the wheel of that car at the moment. So it's under yellow flag, 377 laps completed. It's Jordan Taylor, the shown as our race leader in car number 10, followed by the 01 car of Scott Pruitt, and then the 02 car teammate Scott Dixon, and the number 60 car of AJ Allmendinger.
So I reckon, Jeremy, that when the pit lane opens, the number 02 Chip Ganassi car should stay out because it's only just stopped anyway.
Yep.
And the Taylor car will have to come in because its stop was an emergency one, and the 01 will have to come in because its stop was an emergency one, and that will enable both Scott Dixon and AJ Allmendinger to take over first and second places from where they are at the moment, third and fourth.
6 prototypes coming in.
And curious that Christian Fittipaldi, I thought Christian Fittipaldi was only 1 lap down. He's now 2 laps down.
The 5 comes in, Fittipaldi comes in. Also stopping AJ Allmendinger in the 60, David Heinemeier Hansen in the number 1, Rubens Barrichello in the 7. And who else have we got? The 50 car is in. And a handful of, well, certainly 1 PC car. 66 back in again. I wonder what happens to the 66 car, whether that's just going to trundle on through. Green light being shown. No, it's going to stop. So I think that is an issue for the 66 car. It stopped beyond, as I say, the pit lane lights there, and kind of came to a halt after the white line, which indicates the end of the pit lane speed limit, and before the sharp left-hander on pit lane exit. 5 car already trundling down the fast lane. So that can't have been a driver change. Christian Fittipaldi stays on board there for the 5 and goes back into the race.
AJ Allmendinger back on pit lane.
Yes.
Curious.
I wouldn't have stopped.
He stopped last time around?
Yes, he did. Not last time, but when the pit lane was open immediately before the safety car came out.
So very recent stop then for Allmendinger.
So why would he stop again? Can't think of a good reason for that.
Who have we still got in pit road? Allmendinger's back out again. Still the 66 is being seen too. Rubens Barrichello back out, but it's Brendan Hartley now on board the number 7 car. That's the Starworks Motorsport Riley DP with the Kiwi now on board that car.
Yeah, Allmendinger definitely came in just before the caution and pitted green, so that is a curious tactical decision on their part. I think there is a kind of tendency, Jeremy, not sure what you think, but there is a general tendency to just come into the pits because there's a safety car without necessarily thinking whether it's the best thing to do or not.
No, Mike Shank's guys are sharp. Yeah, and Dale Wise, no, they're not going to make a mistake of that caliber.
Madison Snow's just been in as well in the 58 GTD car. That was a very, very quick stop.
I'll tell you what they've done. They put John Pugh at the wheel of car number 60. And I think that's quite a shrewd move. The reason that they'll have done that, I would surmise, is because the cars are packed up now to get ready for the caution period. So I'm sure the plan would have been to keep AJ out in the car for a longer period of time. But now, if they're all going to start together again, John Pugh can go out. He turned a good lap, good stint last time around, and now he will certainly, he's not going to keep the same pace as the overall race leaders, but if he can still keep himself back on the lead lap,
effectively that's right. You're bunching him up behind the leader, and then if he loses a couple of seconds a lap, we'll have the same situation as we did on the previous time that he was driving the car, when he then fell was just lapped when he came in for his pit stop. So yes, that'll be the Michael Shank plan.
Yep. Again, great strategy down there from Michael Shank Racing. They don't miss too many tricks, those guys, I can tell you.
This is how the GTLM class sits at the moment as we're under caution again. Oliver Gavin leads the way in the number 4 Chevrolet Corvette. It's the sister car number 3 of Ryan Briscoe in second place. Third position for the number 17 Falcon Tyres Porsche of Patrick Long. As I mentioned, the Corvettes, in fact, they come in together, as does Patrick Long, and in fourth position it's the number 25 car of Bruno Spengler in his BMW. By the way, BMW this weekend ably supported by IHG, and I'll mention again your chance, upcoming in fact, a rewards club from IHG competition, and you can enter that via the link on the IMSA page of radiolemans.com to join the rewards club first of all, and then you can enter the latest competition, hashtag IHG Racing, to get involved with that on Twitter. But it's the link that is most important via the IMSA page of radiolemans.com, a brand new rewards club competition very, very shortly on that link.
And a slightly longer stop here for the number 17 Falcon Tyres Porsche. The hood coming off that car as well. They're working. Maybe they're changing the brakes. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it looks like they're changing the brake pads on the number 17 Falcon Tyres Porsche. Both of the Corvettes have made their regular service stops and are back out onto the racetrack. They're changing the rotor. Okay, they're changing front rotors on the number 17 Porsche, and so, some of the, it's a stop that you're probably going to have to make on most of these cars, and they're taking the opportunity now to get that stop done under full course caution.
I think that's what the 25 BMW is doing as well, Jeremy, because in fact they're doing all 4 wheels on the BMW number 25. And when you say it's the stop that you'll plan for these type of cars, it's the GT cars only. They wouldn't necessarily be changing discs, rotors on the prototype cars.
Yeah,
it's really only
marginal.
the GTs.
It's marginal on the prototype cars. I spoke to several of the engineers about that before the start of the race, and they plan to do it, but they hope they don't have to, and they'll just monitor that. It depends on it depends on the whole overall pace of the race, how much time there is under yellow, a bunch of other factors as well. But they're certainly it's in the plan, and they hope they don't have to do it. But you're right, for the GT cars, yes, they will have to do it. And that's what's being completed now on the 17 car. The leaders are coming down the back straight away into the bus stop, and the front wheels now are going back onto the number 17 car. Hand goes up for the tyre changer, and away goes the driver with it. Still Patrick Long, or whether he's handed it back over to Brian Sellers, we will find out very soon.
It's nose to tail, isn't it, between the 17 Porsche and the 25 BMW.
Both carrying out the same service, exactly the same amount of time.
Yeah, just a split second maybe for the 25 quicker, and it could have got the position. In the end, as we're still under caution, it maybe doesn't matter a huge amount. And we still, of course, have 11 hours and 32 minutes to run in this, the 53rd running of the Rolex 24 here, live from the Daytona International Speedway. You're listening to IMSA Radio with myself, Johnny Palmer, Jeremy Shaw and Paul Truswell. And you and I, Jeremy, have something like another 28 minutes to go before there'll be a shift change, not only up here in the booth, but also down in pit lane as well, because Joe Bradley's been on since midnight. As the Aston number 98 comes in for a stop. What were you frantically pointing at there, Jeremy?
No, just thinking about Joe, good old Joe there down in the pit lane, Joe Bradley in the pit lane. Sterling work down there. We've
very
seen,
much so.
Is this the Jordan Taylor car coming in then for its service? A couple of cars coming on to pit lane now. No, it's not. But it is the number 01 car. Yeah, okay.
It should be 01 because he took an emergency stop, and we should have as well.
Well, I think that the number 10 car, the stop might have been under yellow, but as long as the car is committed to the pit lane before the full course caution is caused, then it's okay. Then it can complete the stop. So it might have shown under yellow, and the fact that car has not come in would lead me to suggest that's probably what happened.
Yes, I mean, I'm getting the state of the track at the point that it crosses pit in.
Correct.
And I take your point, Jeremy, if he's already in the pit lane.
And, there is a specific point on the track between the pit in and turn 4, which is kind of the commitment zone, if you like, as to use NASCAR terminology.
Yep.
So I think it was a very narrow escape there for the Jordan Taylor car, and we believe he was able to maintain his position
11
or complete the pit stop without any further penalty.
Yeah, 11 seconds was the gap between when the yellow was shown and when Jordan Taylor crossed the pit entry loop.
Pit entry loop?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Joe Bradley just asking me the question off air there. Was there a driver change in the 17 car? Well, according to the transponder system, and it's been very reliable up until this point, it's still showing as Patrick Long in the car, so no driver change for 17. Slotted back into the sequence in 3rd position ahead of Augusto Farfus now in the 25. So there was a driver change for the 25 BMW from Team RLL, and yeah, so it's Bruno Spengler, the Canadian, handing over to Brazilian Farfus.
Right. What else is going on? Let's have a look down the orders. In PC, we've now got a battle again because Mike Gouache and the PR1 Matheson Motorsports team, car number 52, have been able to get back that extra lap. They're now on the same lap as the number 54 Core Autosport team. Mark Wilkins has taken over the wheel from Colin Brown in car number 54. So the 54 ahead of 52 in PC. In GTD, Townsend Bell has found himself in the lead of that class in the Scuderia Corsa Ferrari 458 Italia, and he leads in that car number 63 from the number 48 Audi of Christopher Haase, number 22 Porsche of Lee Keen, and then the 2 Dodge Viper SRT, car number 33 driven by Sebastian Blakemolen, and the number 93 by Cameron Lawrence.
Green flag this time.
All right, okay, so back to green flag running very, very shortly as the train behind the safety car of easily 20 cars, maybe even more than that now, pouring its way around, and they're all together and very neatly arranged indeed. So this is the point where the safety car will peel off to driver's left and find the gap in the wall to head back into the paddock area, and they're under starter's orders then. The green flag flies now from the gantry, and all of a sudden that long line of single file lights spreads out to certainly 2 abreast, and it looks to have been a cracking start there for Scott Dixon.
Jordan Taylor got jumped there at the restart, and Scott Dixon just flew past him and said, "Thank you very much, I will take over the lead of this race. As soon as the green flag waves, you can overtake. As long as you don't make the move before the green flag waves, you're in good shape." I think Jordan actually got passed by 2 cars, did he? I believe so.
Yes,
somebody else looking down the inside as well.
Richard Westbrook was in the number 90 visitflorida.com DP as well, and I think he got the jump as well.
Yeah, so he's a couple of laps down, so he's trying to get back one of those 2 laps from the race leader, but he's now got Scott Dixon to deal with as well.
So Dixon leads from Jordan Taylor in 2nd position. You've got the visitflorida.com car in the middle, but that's actually running in 5th position, car number 90. 3rd place is John Pugh in number 60, although has Sage Karam improved a position to get by the Ligier? No, it doesn't look like it as they head up onto the banking. So 60 John Pugh 3rd. 4th place is Karam in the 01. 5th place, as I say, Richard Westbrook, although it looks like he's 2nd on the road at the moment. The 5 car, Christian Fittipaldi, is in 6th position. Then it's David Heinemeier Hansen in the 1, Brendan Hartley in the 7. And then 4 GTLM cars, all on the same lap. Ollie Gavin, Jan Magnussen in the bright yellow Chevrolet Corvettes. Augusto Farfus got the jump on Patrick Long, at least at the line, in number 25. And then the 17 Falcon Porsche. Around the outside there goes Christian Fittipaldi of one of the PC cars. And over the line, the number 5 car will go. So at the end of lap 382, it's Dixon from Taylor, 0.6 of a second. John Pugh is there in third position. Then Sage Karam we're still waiting for to pop over the line at the end of lap 382. There he goes now. So that's a gap of 6.3 seconds from Pugh to Karam. Westbrook in fifth position, Fittipaldi in sixth, and actually only 0.7 of a second off the back of Westbrook.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch Sage Karam, I think, in this stint, because his earlier stint last evening was absolutely sensational. He set the fastest lap of the race, I think it was at that stage, still the fastest lap of that car, the 0-1 car. It was a really fine effort, and he looked fresh as a daisy when he got out of that car as well. So I know he's had a little bit of a rest since then. He's been chomping at the bit, and now he's going to get his opportunity to show what he can do again. A bit of a change here. Number 4 Corvette is slow going on to the banking.
Yeah, Gavin with a problem. Oliver Gavin has a problem here at the turn 1 of the speedway section and ducks immediately down to the apron to stay out of the way of pursuing traffic, and we go caution. Ooh. Is that because of the Corvette then? It hasn't come to a halt and maybe was happy to trundle along the apron, not really bothering race traffic. I think there is another issue somewhere.
There's got to be something somewhere, I think. But Ray up on top of the roof. Thank you very much, Rooftop Ray. You found us that Corvette there going slowly. We're trying to figure out what else has caused that caution period. But there's a car going. What the heck's going on over there? There's a car going in the International Horseshoe. There's a car on the grass going the wrong way around. That's a bit bizarre. And there's another safety truck heading down towards it. I think maybe there's been some sort of an incident down in the International Horseshoe. Yeah,
at turn 2. Yeah. So 2 intervention vehicles making certainly hasty work to get to the scene of the crime. Unfortunately, it's right behind some of those Rolex advertising boards there. And
yeah, some concern down there.
Yeah, it was the car, I think, that you saw going the wrong direction that is going to be hoiked out of the way very, very quickly. So that was... We didn't have one racing lap there, did we, after the previous caution? Sort of half a lap before the caution came out again.
Yeah, quite so. Yeah, Scott Dixon took the green flag as he began, or rather as he completed his 381st lap. So he set off on his 382nd lap, and then as he came around to complete his 383rd lap, he got a yellow flag in his face again.
Jan Magnussen, by the way, took the lead from his teammate Oliver Gavin, and Gavin has come into the pit lane now. And in fact, we can hand straight down to Joe Bradley in pit lane to give us a close-up view of this stop for the number 4, Joe.
I'm not really sure what that was about. He came in and the car went up on jacks and then came down off jacks and went back out. I was not in a very good place to see. I'm right in the depths of the Corvette pit, and I could just basically see into the cockpit. I don't know if you guys noticed anything from your vantage point.
Well, as you say, it was such a quick stop. I can't imagine they would have done an awful lot. It was more a case of checking the underneath of the car. Whether Ollie Gavin just felt something and just didn't want to risk powering his way up onto the banking, but seemed to go through the infield section relatively well, was ahead of teammate Jan Magnussen. They were having to deal with some of the PC traffic, including the number 11 RSR Racing Orica that was desperate to get by the Chevy Corvettes, but also to try and avoid contact with them. Back to Joe, more news?
Yeah, puncture. Looks like he might have had a coming together because the sidewall looks as though that is where the puncture has occurred. Hard to say. I mean, the carcass is pretty well damaged. It's intact. It's still on the wheel. But yeah, that's why he's had to come in. He's had a puncture. So what you guys speculated about an incident at the International Horseshoe, it looks like this car may have had contact with something, or indeed another car.
Yeah, it was the number 1 David Heinemeier Hansen driven HPD that was off on the left-hand side, the outside of the International hairpin. It's been given a tug start, and I can only imagine that the grass over there is pretty damp and wet. When I was walking out on the grass yesterday morning now, there were areas where it was very boggy indeed. Anyway, he's managed to get it going again, and if he can now drive it all the way around back to the pit lane, then we'll hopefully be able to get back on with green flag racing very rapidly indeed, because obviously with almost no time at all between the last caution period and this caution period, this will be a short caution and we'll be able to get on with racing again.
Yeah, they will not open the pits for service this time.
A lot of front-end damage to the number 1 car. This is the sole surviving Tequila Patrón ESM Honda HPD.
It's been a bit difficult few laps for David Heinemeier Hansson. We don't know what's happened, but a couple of different incidents where he's lost time, and certainly been off the road on at least one occasion, probably 2. So all of a sudden, having been just a lap or so behind the leaders, he now finds himself 6 laps off the pace, and with significant damage to the front of the car.
Yeah. Missing a significant amount of the front left portion of the nose there. The fender missing from the front left wheel.
Yeah.
And it will limp its way back to pit road. I'm sure the number 1 car will come in for a little bit of attention, depending on whether that's knocked the tracking out as well. It's motoring on, though, in the hands of David Heinemeier Hansson, but I can't imagine that's going to be risked for any further laps.
And Joe, I don't know whether you can find the PR1 Matheson Motorsports team down there, because they made a pit stop during this caution period and the pits were closed, so that car was running in is running second place in PC. Mike Gouache at the wheel, and it was it's now dropped a couple of minutes behind because of that additional stop.
Just a buzz in my ear there from Joe, who is moments away from being able to get Scott Pruitt, we think, 5 times winner of this event. So equaling Hurley Haywood. How are you doing, Joe, on that mission?
I've got Mr. Pruitt right in front of me. He can tell me exactly what the plan is down at Ganassi. Scott, if anyone knows how to win this race, you guys do. Are you finding it hard not to be drawn into a battle with the Taylor car?
No, not at all. I mean, we're running our pace. We're running the race we want to run. You know, we're real happy with the way the EcoBoost engine, Ford's given us a real nice piece. The Ganassi boys are good, clean stops. Unfortunately, we got kind of caught out on that last yellow. Unfortunately, we were just getting ready to pull in for a service, and unfortunately, we had to come in for a splash and then go to the end of the longest line. But, you know, we're just past halfway, and things are rolling along as planned.
Now, we speculate that Daytona is all about being there in the morning. When we get there in the morning, is that when the race really begins? I mean, how, on a percentage-wise, where are you with the car? Are we flat out, or are we, say, 7, 8, 9 tenths?
We're 90% right now. I mean, I think most of the guys are running, you know, you're being really careful in traffic, not wanting to get caught up in somebody else's mistake, running hard when you can, but being real cautious. When sun comes up and you can see the checkered flag, and you know what you got to do, then it's time to go to work.
Well, you know what to do, Scott. I'll let you, and I know what you're going to do now. You're probably going to get some rest.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll leave you to it. Thank you for talking to us.
Scott Pruitt, who, as Joe says, much experience of winning this race, and Chip Ganassi well placed at the moment in this latest caution. The 0-2 car leads in the hands of Scott Dixon, and the 0-1 car is in 4th position with 19-year-old Sage Karam, though, in control. And we know from his previous stint in this race, he's not going to hang about there and certainly trouble John Pugh and Jordan Taylor for the places further ahead of him.
Green flag this time around, Johnny. So it was indeed a very short, sharp safety car, having had just, what was it, 3 minutes, not 3 minutes and 57 seconds of the of green flag running. We'll be back underway again, I suspect, in, let's say, 45, less than 10 minutes. So a very short caution. But of course, the other person who's going to have to make a penalty pit stop is going to be Oliver Gavin, isn't he, Jeremy? Because he had to come in to have that puncture fixed, and that will count as emergency service, will it not?
Yeah, I think so.
And of course, having caused the, or not caused the caution, but having come in during the caution to get that puncture fixed, then that will count as emergency service, and so we should be seeing Oliver Gavin in very shortly as well.
11 hours and 16 minutes still to go in the 53rd running of the Rolex 24, and we're back to green flag conditions. Another very crowded house through turn 1. Let's hope we don't get contact though, as we did last time around. Everyone at the pointy end of the field, as I say that. No, there's a car that goes straight on and hard into the tyre wall at turn 2, and that is the 60 car.
John Pugh.
It's John Pugh in the 60 car, and it was an unforced error. It looked like there wasn't another car involved as far as I could tell, and all locked up, all crossed up was John Pugh, desperately trying to turn right at the International Horseshoe, but ran out of brakes and into the tyre wall. So surely that will mean another caution now to get that car recovered. I would imagine heavy front left damage on the Ligier. It's just out of shot there, but thank you to the guys on the roof for another good close-up on our feed to detail exactly what's gone wrong there. Still racing at the moment, by the way, and it is Scott Dixon out front from Jordan Taylor.
Yeah, he's trying to reverse it out of the tyres, I think, but I don't think he has any rearward traction. I think he's going to be stuck there, and I think it is going to have to go full course caution. The officials are going to wait as long as they can to give. Oh, he has reversed that. He has got it out, actually, which is sort of good news and bad news, because if you don't need to go full course caution, then they won't. There is certainly damage to the front end of the car. The nose cone is badly deranged, and he's going to bring that car back on the track and get going again. But now he's going to have to limp it around. This is that's a great shame for John Pugh, because he just got into the braking area a little bit too deep, tried to lock him up. He did everything he could to try and get out of the barriers, but there was no way of avoiding it at that stage.
Well, of course, Truss has made the point about it being very boggy out there. I don't think it will have dried an awful lot since all that rain Friday into Saturday.
Yes, I mean, what John Pugh really wanted was for them to show the caution car, and then he could have driven it back, and he wouldn't have been closed upon at quite a rate by all the competition.
No, plus it would have given, when he got it back to the pits, to be able to work it on the yellow as well. So
exactly.
Yeah, that is a shame.
It's a double bad news, and I know that Race Control do have the ability to monitor the pits to car radio of all the teams as well, so they would probably have been monitoring what he was saying, and he was saying, I think I can back it out. Then they will have been more inclined to wait than that initial impact suggested, because it did look initially as if it was going to be straight back into a caution period.
They clearly make these Ligiers tough, because it still has some manoeuvrability. He was able to swing it way down onto the apron there and stay out of the way as the racing pack makes its way by to the right-hand side of John Pugh. And a great call there from the clerk of the course from Race Control to keep the green flag running, because Scott Dixon, Jordan Taylor and Sage Karam are shaping up to give us a really good race here at the pointy end of the field. Yeah,
and both then the number 4 car that you were talking about, Paul Truswell, and the number 52 car, both then just now made additional stops. So I presume those are the penalty stops for coming in during that short yellow. So that's bad news for both of those two, because the number 52 car, PR1 Matheson Motorsports, had been, well, is still on the lead lap to the number 54 Autosport car that leads PC, but it's now, well, the better part of a lap behind it. But ditto Oliver Gavin.
Yes, and it's in fact it's not really much change as far as the 52 car, because they always were on the same lap, but very nearly a lap behind, so kind of almost.
Well, no, because of that previous caution period, he closed right in again.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so yes,
so having back to how it was before.
Yeah,
you're right.
So having been given a get out of jail free, it was then taken away again. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Fight is on here for 5th and 6th in the overall standings. Richard Westbrook and Christian Fittipaldi continue their very close fight that we were enjoying before the previous caution period. So Fittipaldi just, well, as they headed over the line and started this lap, 0.2 of a second off the back of Richard Westbrook. It's not a great deal more than that now that they've worked their way out of Speedway Turn 2 and down the back straight towards the braking area for the bus stop. And Fittipaldi really closes up under brakes, glowing red hot the front rotors there as the cars turn left and right through the bus stop and then out the other side into Speedway Turn 3. Westbrook, I'm sure, can soak all this pressure up, but Christian Fittipaldi has been circulating right behind the VisitFlorida.com racing car for a little while now, and will want to get by as soon as possible.
And the number 60 car of John Pugh has made its way onto pit lane. The crew bringing out a new nose section, which is being put on the car right now. It's already gone 2 laps now down to the race leader Scott Dixon, who's been chased by Jordan Taylor. There is the number 60 car. You can see the nose going on there. Thanks again, Ray.
And then there were 3.
Yeah,
on the lead lap. Yes, I mean that lap from John Pugh, 4 minutes and 50 seconds, which is the lap from when he was shown the green flag, extracting it from the tyre wall, and then a slow lap back to the pits. Yeah, very nearly, as you say, that's where the 2 laps went, is sitting in the barrier, and then a slow lap back.
Yeah, and we were down to 3 cars on the lead lap, weren't we, 2 or 3 hours ago? And then we were back up to 4, and then down to 3 again.
Yeah, this car, number 60, was the one that kind of managed to claw its way back on, but it's
they've got to do it again. They've done it once in the first 12 hours of the race. Now they've got another 12 hours to do the same again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen how it can be done.
Yep.
Provided the cautions get thrown, and it gives you the opportunity to make the most of them.
Simsa Radio for 2015. Very good morning to you. 3 a.m. just gone here in Florida, Daytona International Speedway. We're bringing you live coverage of the 53rd running of the Rolex 24. Car 66 back in pit road and serving a penalty, the number 66 at the moment. That's had 1 or 2 mechanical gremlins of late as well. Scott Dixon leads then by 0.4 of a second ahead of Jordan Taylor. Sej Karam is in 3rd position. Richard Westbrook and Christian Fittipaldi move up to 4th and 5th places now because of the John Pugh problems in his Ligier GTLM. Well, we've got 4 cars still tightly bunched on lap 381. 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th positions in the overall standings. Jan Magnussen in the Chevy ahead of Augusto Farfus in the BMW, Patrick Long in the Falcon Porsche, and Ollie Gavin, after that puncture most recently, has slipped to 4th position in class now. PC still headed by car 54, Mark Wilkins. Mike Gouache is 2nd in that class in car 52, and GTD headed by Townsend Bell in the number 63 Ferrari. Really close action here at the head of the order. This is Jordan Taylor under the rear wing of Scott Dixon, Jeremy.
Yeah, really putting the pressure on there. They were lapping a slower car into the corner, going on to the banking, and now Scott Dixon gets his foot down coming off the corner, uses the power of that 3.5 litre turbo V6 engine, the EcoBoost Ford on that Riley chassis, and he maintains his advantage, goes into the bus stop now, and Jordan Taylor a little bit later on the brakes, closes right up on the braking, then they come off the corner. Once again, it's that Ford EcoBoost just ekes out a car length or 2 as they come around turn 4. This is on lap 390.
It'll be all change in a moment or two as far as the commentary team is concerned. A great stint from Joe Bradley down in pit lane. Thank you ever so much for that, Joe, and all the interviews you've managed to gather together. It'll be Greg Kramer taking over as far as things are concerned in pit road, and myself and Jeremy stepping down to give way to John Hindhoff, Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com, and Marshall Pruitt as well for his first action during the race. Here comes Jordan Taylor, though, around the outside of the International Horseshoe. There was just about space, but he didn't make it stick, and now on the cutback, it'll be a left-hand kink up coming, though, and they're overlapping, but in the end, Jordan Taylor has to give way to Scott Dixon. Yeah,
that wasn't going to work. Dixie wasn't going to let him go around the outside of him through the kink. No, thank you very much, says Scott Dixon, and holds on to that line, and Jordan Taylor has to tuck in behind. But we saw Jordan Taylor on the previous restart get jumped by Scott Dixon at the restart. I think he's pretty mad about that, so he's trying to redress the balance. He's managed to get past Richard Westbrook, who is a couple of laps down and was trying to get one of those laps back again. But so Jordan Taylor's managed to get back past Richard Westbrook, and now he's chasing after the race leader, Scott Dixon. So the battle very much joined at the front of the field. Sej Karam in 3rd place in car number 01, the 2nd of the Ganassi EcoBoost Ford Rileys. And on 1 lap down now is actually 2 laps down in 4th place is Richard Westbrook. closely followed by Christian Fittipaldi. So the two Coyote Corvette DPs, number 90 car, the visitflorida.com entry, and Christian Fittipaldi, the Mustang sampling entry, entered by Action Express Racing, pretty much nose to tail for 4th and 5th places. John Hindhaugh, great to see you back again.
And great to be back. Amazing what a sit down for 45 minutes. Exploring the inside of my eyelids, I have to say,
well
for a part of that 45, 50 minutes. However, in the background, I could hear you and Johnny waxing lyrical about the ups and downs, particularly of Porsches and teammates and various other things that went on. Extraordinary race this is, Jeremy. That's just going backwards and forwards in the middle of these stints for these Daytona prototypes. They keep coming together. They're what, sort of 15, 16 laps again into their stints, and they're back at it again.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant race. I mean, it's been non-stop action. There's a couple of occasions where somebody's pulled out a bit of a lead, but then it's been brought back again. Jordan Taylor's had a great stint at the wheel of car number 10. I was just saying, you got jumped on a restart a little while ago, but has now put in the pressure on again from Scott Dixon, who's clambered back aboard the number 02 car after a brilliant stint by Kyle Larson in that car.
I mean, everybody thinks of him as a stock car man. He clearly has a future in driving anything.
Yeah, anything. He's a proper race car driver, isn't he? You're absolutely right. And it was very interesting when Joe Bradley spoke to him down in the pit lane. Kyle was saying he was really disappointed himself from last year. It was a great interview, and Kyle was saying he was disappointed last year. How good, how good is it to hear somebody be so honest on the air there, with everybody here? But he's rightly proud of what he's done this evening.
You're saying, and I use it quite often, Jeremy, and always credited to you, is student of the sport. Somebody who isn't blinkered about just his own part of the sport.
Yeah, student to report to some degree, but he claimed not to know who the Taylor brothers were, which I thought was rather strange. Okay. I'm going to hand over to Graham Goodwin.
Thanks, Jeremy. We'll speak to you later on. Paul Truswell is the third member of the team at the far end of the booth. So as I say, about 15, 16 laps since the two leaders stopped on a... What are we seeing, roughly speaking, in terms of strategy and stints, Paul, if we get full green flag running?
They're running about 26, just get to the right page, 26 laps on a green stint, 26, 27. I mean, we were hearing just there Jeremy talking about the great stint that Kyle was driving in the 02 car. Kyle Larson was driving in the 02 car, but an equally impressive, if not, I would suggest, slightly more impressive stint from Jordan Taylor at the wheel of the number 10 Wayne Taylor racing car, because he has been driving just as rapidly, and he's still going. I mean, this is over 3 hours that Jordan has been running.
And it's 4 hours and only 6, isn't it, that you can drive?
Exactly so. So he's going to have to get out pretty soon, because he's now been driving for a longer distance than Kyle was.
A quick talking point is that the leading car has done 19 pit stops, 17 for second and third, 16 for fourth and fifth, 18 for sixth, and 21 for Brendan Hartley in the 7 car. Now, all right, he's laps down, but that is quite remarkable to have done that many more.
What tends to happen, John, is that in order to get the benefit of the safety car being out, you go out behind the safety car, you then come back in at the end of that particular lap, you work on the car for half a lap, and then you go out again, and then you come in and do the same thing the next time around. As I was saying to Jeremy, it's a bit like when you take your car in for servicing and you say, please can I have it back for the evenings so I can take it out, and then you bring it back in to finish off the work the next day. So it's a kind of
you have a strange relationship with your garage.
Well, I can't do without my car, you see. So they give it back to me in a half-repaired state, and I then drive it carefully for a few hours and then take it back to them. But it's the same principle, and that's why some of the pit count numbers aren't quite representative.
That's Paul Truswell, and Great to have him as part of the team here again, as he was here in 2012. It's IMSA Radio. Hello there. Don't forget to get onto the IMSA page of radiolemans.com. Look for the link to IHG Rewards Club, because we'll be having another competition in a wee while, and then running quite a few towards the end of the race as well. Got some amazing bits and pieces to give away, including some memorabilia, and you'll need to tune in to the post-race tech show as well, where we'll be setting some questions there that will run through into Midweek Motorsport on Wednesday. And also for those of you perhaps who are here and can't tweet, perhaps we'll be setting some on Wednesday when you're back at home, so that you can have a go at getting involved with our IHG Rewards Club event as well. At IMSA Radio on Twitter. I've been going through those whilst I've been away from the microphone. That's kept me amused. Some excellent stuff. As usual, you never cease to amaze me in a positive way. But it's the battle at the head of the field at the moment that is keeping us awake here, with 12 hours, 13 hours just about to be completed, 11 to go, over halfway through the race now, and it's 0.3 of a second at the head of the field as Scott Dixon once again, as he turns out towards the banking at turn 1 and gets perilously close again to that outside wall. He's under pressure from Jordan Taylor, with Serge Karim about 20 seconds further back down the field, down the road, the 01 car. And a story, Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com, and we've got the press team together, the media team together, as we had in practice earlier in the week, with Marshall Pruitt of racer.com and Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com with us. An amazing story. I think it's only really the number 10 car who haven't been behind the wall in this race. The top cars have not been trouble-free.
Don't think 2 went behind, 0-2 went behind the wall. It did have some attention on pit lane.
That's right.
Road, and had a delay there. But you might well be right, John. It's certainly been a pretty extraordinary race of accident, incidents, you know, clashes out there, the extraordinary scenes with Porsche just a little while ago in GTLM, but it's a good race, and I think the real positive for me so far is that, yes, we've had a number of cautions, but there seemed to be a sense of urgency about getting this race going back to green.
Marshall Pruitt, this might well be a proper classic that we're witnessing here.
The only downside for me, Hindy, is some of the problems that we had with the Porsche North America GTLM cars, where just from the simple fact that the GTLM battle was
so
brilliant.
good. Yeah.
If you forget the other 3 classes, that class was standing out. So unfortunately we don't have that tight pack that it was, but still they're battling incredibly. And I'm with you, mate. We went into the green flag today with the Ligier leading every single session, qualifying, you name it. Ran the board, and question was reliability. What could it do? They're fine per se from a reliability standpoint, but the Corvette DP teams, the displaced ones in the paddock, my friend, who were very unhappy. Let's just say that hard work and consistency is certainly putting them where you would want to be at this stage of the race. Not as far back as maybe they thought they would be.
And at the moment, by the way, that 60 car is sitting down in 6th position, and that is 2 laps off the lead, I think, almost 3 laps off the lead, with John Pugh at the wheel of that. In GTLM, it is Jan Magnussen for Corvette in the number 3 car, who's 0.3 of a second ahead of Augusto Farfus. So that battle continues as we're still watching the leaders, as rightly we should, with Patrick Long about another 17 seconds further back, and Ollie Gavin a bit further back from that. The PC battle, well, that's going the way of the 54 at the moment, with Mark Wilkins doing a cracking job there in the darkness hours. Mike Gouache is a better part of a couple of laps down in 2nd place in the 52, and 3rd, Johnny Morlam, who is just ahead of Steven Simpson, although I think a lap and change between them. In GTD, now 16th overall, 1-6 overall, Christopher Haase for the Paul Miller Racing Audi team, ahead of Townsend Bell by just 2.3 seconds, as the battling BMW and Corvette at the head of the GTLM has caught rear race attention. I'll quickly run through the GTD top 3 for you. Then Daniel Serra in 3rd place in the 64 car, and it looks to me as though the top 7 in GTD are all back on the lead lap for that class, and half a minute between them, which is quite remarkable. Thumbs up from Graham at the far end.
From Paul confirming that. I'm just passing on the thumbs up, but correct, John. It's been a very good and very varied battle in GTD throughout this race, and what we're seeing again here, it's obviously Christopher Haase leading in the Audi, then it's the pair of Scuderia Corsa Ferraris in GTD, then it's the pair of Dodge Vipers, who is Sebastian Bleekemolen in the 33 car, leading the 93 car, and those 5 cars in the top 20 overall, and possibly, reflecting what Marshall was saying just a little while ago, better overall, let's not say reliability, but longevity at the moment from the GTD class than we've got from GTLM, because more of the incidents, probably because we've seen those cars battling more closely on track, we're down really now to 4 relatively undelayed GTLM cars from a starting field of 10.
Yeah. Good morning to Kelly McNish, who I know is listening back in Europe, and thank you for passing on the information to other people who were looking for streams. Kelly, hello, Mrs. World Champion. Ray on the roof, still there, been here since I think 97 or 98, and 2012, of course, when we christened, in fact I say we, the collective, christened him Rooftop Ray, been here helping out ever since, and in fact even the year that we weren't here when he was doing the overnight, he still listened to us and gave us the pictures that we needed. It was sort of Ray by remote control, which was fantastic stuff. Happy birthday for yesterday.
Yeah, was it his birthday yesterday?
It was his birthday yesterday,
birthday,
and he got married in October as well. So
God bless you both.
Actually had him briefly on the air before he ran up to take the camera over from... Wow. Yeah, look, there you go.
when you say that Ray's been up there since 97, 98, does he ever come down?
No, he never comes down. No. He nipped away earlier today. Alison was up there, another one of the excellent crew that we have courtesy of our Fox colleagues, and also we should mention that Sean Belby's been helping out in the truck as well, cutting to some of the static cameras, so thanks Sean for giving up your evening hours.
You know, Hindy, one interesting note, if we look at the GTD leader right now, the Paul Miller Racing Audi R8, who seemed to be coming off of the last endurance race where they did rather well at Petit Le Mans, but I'll tell you, speaking with GTD drivers across the field, everybody in the GTD field that is not driving a Viper is absolutely afraid of what those Vipers not just can do in terms of outright pace, but if they are able to last. I think there's a general feeling that they might have the winning ticket to be punched. So they are certainly hanging with the field per se, but be interesting, Graham, to see if there's more to uncork once we get back to sunlight. I
agree, yeah, and the other extraordinary thing about this, there's this common theme we've been talking about, not just this event, John, but others too through the years, about how much smaller than you think race cars actually are. But the extraordinary thing I saw just earlier on today was just how large those Vipers are compared to the 911s.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like half as wide again and twice as long.
Well, they're American. I mean, come on now.
It's great. And it's great to see. The variety is the thing in the GTD class, without a shadow of a doubt. And the sights, the sounds, watching these cars race wheel to wheel, it's a glorious thing.
Good morning to Chris Suku, who's awoken to snow in Central Europe. Chris posting some pictures and rather wishing he'd put the car in the garage last night. Into the pit lane is
the GTD, previous GTD leader Christopher Haase has brought the Paul Miller Racing 48 Audi R8 onto pit lane. That puts the Scuderia Corsa Ferraris into lead and second position, and the Dodge Vipers, aforementioned Dodge Vipers, third and fourth just at present.
I've just realised something as well. What's the date today? Is it Burns night? Yes, thank you. Burns supper required later on, I think. Yeah, I should have sussed that. A bit of McSween's haggis required. McSween's of Edinburgh, I still reckon, is the best. I know McNish and I have had a few discussions about this. It's 6/10 at the head of the field, and still Jordan Taylor refuses to let up. He has been in the car since midnight, 298 laps. He's done over 100 laps in that car now. That is Ironman stuff, gentlemen.
I think we've just learned one thing for sure, and I'm positive all the other drivers in the field will take note. Knowing how long that young Jordan's been going, clearly everyone next year will be going to bed in their little tiger print nightgown.
Get the onesies out.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Just about 4 laps, Paul Truswell tells me, to my left, before we can expect the leading prototypes to actually rumble away down pit lane.
This is a remarkable run. Scott Dixon's doing a great job as well, and I concur with Jeremy Shaw just how brilliant Kyle Larson was earlier on, in and out of the car.
Staggering. I was out at the bus stop shooting photos during the meet of Kyle's stint, and one of the most impressive things to watch was his throttle application. So he had Mr. Not My Brother Scott Pruitt chasing him in the sister Ganassi car, and watched and heard the exact opposite, Hindy. You would have thought that Kyle, inexperienced, he's done one endurance race before in his life. This is now number 2. You would have thought he would have been hard on the throttle, romping through, abusing the thing, and Pruitt would be smooth as glass. It was the exact opposite. Kyle was rolling big speed, very smooth. Pruitt was one romping on the throttle.
Advantage to the 02 car coming onto the banking. He's been eaten up on the infield by Jordan Taylor, but that 02 with its Ford EcoBoost engine is doing the business. Absolutely doing the business. By the way, we had a bit of bad news earlier on from down in the Mazda pit, I think. Got the tweet through.
Yeah, unfortunately, both of the Skyactiv diesel Mazda P2s have retired. We have seen, Hindy, compared to last year, massive increase in pace and overall competitiveness, but unfortunately I don't think they came into Daytona expecting their learning curve to be done. No one would after 1 year with a new product like that, but yeah, unfortunately they will not be making it to the checkered flag this year.
Led the race. First
time
race.
Ever. Overall, first time ever overall, according to John Doonan.
23 class victories at this place down through the years, believe it or not, but never an overall, and never led overall, and a diesel has never led overall here as well. They'll take that. They will take that. Graham?
Number 1, Tequila Patrón ESM HPD on pit lane. Of the leading group, though, Paul expecting that Scott Dixon, the 02 car, the lead car, will be the first to join us on down pit lane here. Is this a routine stop for the number 1? We'll soon see.
And what's impressive as well, Graham, is we're watching footage of the battle for the lead between the 02 Ganassi Ford EcoBoost DP and Jordan Taylor in the number 10 Corvette DP. Jordan's been in the car for hours now. Dixie's been in the car. Dixie's certainly the fresher of the two, but if you're watching the lap times, Jordan is either matching, they're trading 1/10 of a second back and forth. Brilliant.
These cars, you were talking about the bus stop, Marshall. You know, we talk about the bus stop as a chicane. It's not. It's a quick set of corners now, isn't it?
So I walked up a bit, basically to the braking zone, and was watching the bus stop from behind, and would just kind of turn my head and close my eyes and listen. And Hindy, I'm telling you, every car that came through, again with my back turned and just having to picture it in my mind, I swore a crash was about to happen with every car. That's how manic it is through there. There's not this tidy break and turn. It is just harrowing.
Working on a bit of additional content for Radio Le Mans that we've got in sound and vision for you. I was with Mike Renner of the BMW M Performance Centre and Driving Experience on when was that? That would have been Friday, and it's all blending into one now. And we went round in 3 new M3s, and the guys were doing formation drifting, but by golly, they were quick through that inner street car, using all the curbs. I'm not sure who was ahead of us, but he got very squirrely in that. And Mike was was hanging on to the back of them pretty well. We could have had them in the braking area, actually, and the video proves that. He backed out of it because he had to stay in line, but we got the draft. We'll get that up on the radiolemans.com site in the next few days.
Rather sadly, it's not a routine stop for the number 1 car. Engine cover is off on the HPD down in pit lane, as we await imminently, I think, the arrival of the race leader due in next time around. And
thank you to Sean for just giving us a little look at the leaders going through the bus stop on the locked off camera. I mean, this place looks at lots of people clearly in Europe coming back to us now, as in that's
looks like the TRG,
it's the Aston, yeah. They're going to go around again. Lots of people in Europe clearly getting up to have breakfast and deciding to get this straight back on. Well, why wouldn't you? And commenting just how great the cars, Graham, look under the lights. I completely concur. It looks like they've had about 25 gallons of Maguire's wax put all over them all.
Race cars racing under lights always look fantastic.
Yeah,
they just do. And you know, the best part about it, gentlemen, is that not only do we get them to look fantastic under lights, but when it gets back into daylight, they'll look gloriously filthy as well, which is the other great state for a race car. A filthy race car is a wonderful thing.
Here's another thing too, and this is just watching the footage right now at night. Other just glorious things that we get to see, and that is the Corvettes, for example, but actually both DP and in GTLM. On downshift or lifting off the throttle in the braking zone, you get these beautiful pair of blue streaks of flame shooting out of the exhaust. It's just little stuff like that. During the daylight, they're happening. You just can't see them. But at night, it's just mesmerizing.
Just reposted the footage from Racer of the two Porsches coming back together. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Watching Bamber's drive, Graham and I were we were giggling. We're coming up with nicknames. I was going back to the old 70s NBA, and we're calling him Earl the Pearl for a little while because this guy was just taking everybody to school.
I've worked with Earl. I worked with Earl on Super League Formula in the booth when he couldn't get a drive, and he was great to work with. Smashing guy. He then on another of the events that he was supposed to be commentating in, one of the drivers didn't turn up, and he got thrown into the car and went and promptly won the 60,000 euros, having not sat in the car. And then he's gone and done exactly the same in Porsche. The guy's got a future. But put it this way, you don't get to be a Porsche factory driver without being a decent peddler. We were watching the battle a wee while ago between the Jan Magnussen Corvette and Augusto Farfus in the BMW. That's just swung slightly towards Jan, who's pulled out all of 1.1 seconds. And let's say good morning to Greg Kramer down in the pits, where finally there's some stirring of action in leading pits. Greg, good morning.
Yeah, it's actually been relatively quiet. We had the number 11 RSR entry do just a quick stop, fuel and tires, and on its way. And the 009 Aston Martin trundled down pit lane as well. But it's starting to get busy. We expect the 02 in any second. The number 22 Alex Job Racing Porsche looks like they are getting ready for a stop as well. So we're going to park ourselves right here. They're right next door, and we'll bring you what happens.
Trouble for the number 1 car. That car is going behind the wall, gentlemen. Saw the engine cover go back on. That gave me a moment of hope that we might see the one back in, but out it goes. Around the back, I'm afraid it goes. Meantime, to my left, it's a prototype coming down pit lane. It's not one of the leaders yet, though. It's the CDC Miller 85 PC car.
They're coming in together, guys, and there's almost going to be a pass on the entrance to pit lane. Last of the late breakers.
Now this is interesting. He's blocking him.
As Jordan Taylor came down the inside and tried to get position, his pit lane is first. He's gained about 3 or 4 cars lengths. He jumps out of the bridge of the Death Star, which is what it looks like in that blue light in the number 10. That was very interesting, Graham, almost as if that had been planned. He'd thought about that. He was at the right speed at the marker. Nothing wrong with that.
Rushed it in.
Tactical. I mean, that was all. There's a degree of psychology being applied there as well, without a shadow of a doubt. We know already 10's been consistently quicker in the pits, and it's rolling, and it's taking the lead.
Now takes the lead, and the difference between being 3 car lengths behind coming into the pit and doing that out-braking manoeuvre, has taken the lead for the number 10 car.
I don't want to take anything away from Jordan. This isn't meant as a slight, but you're definitely in a better position being second. If you're following
Correct.
the leader in, you are able to pace yourself off of how fast they're decelerating, and you saw him absolutely maximize his entry.
Sage Karam at the wheel of the 01 car, I think.
Is the leader. That's the point I was going to make, John. This is effectively the lead battle, but Sage Karam for the time being leads the motor race, with these two cars having pitted and Sage not yet having made his stop.
Let's go down to Joe Bradley in the pit lane. Oh, I better turn the right. Sorry, Joe, that's finger trouble from Hindhoff. Go ahead.
No problem. I think what really, obviously, that great run by Jordan to close in so much on the approach to pit lane paid big dividends, but there was the slightest of delays in the 02 leaving its pit stall. Just a little burble for a second, and that's when the number 10 went by. The 02 lit it up, tried to make it work, but too late, had to tuck in behind, and that was the difference. It all comes down sometimes to that millisecond delay on a release.